So that can just sort of take the air out of you if it hasn't been already. So you hope that both of these teams are competitive enough this afternoon. We know Richmond don't play here a hell of a lot, but St Kilda can play some good footy under the roof. So what we often see too, and you've seen this across a couple of games this weekend, is when young sides who probably aren't as experienced, they're not as set in their defensive systems, it can turn into a little bit of a shootout where we get poor defence, which means the ball's pinging up one end to the other. So with a little bit of luck, we get a game like that, which is what we saw a little bit down in Hobart yesterday, where West Coast were able to kick 3 goals in the last 90 seconds of footy. So I just wonder if we'll see a little bit more of an open affair this afternoon.
I mean, you're right. Like, these are the times and these are the games in the back end of the season when you can, as we touched on earlier, experiment, kind of take the game on and see what works and what doesn't. So, yeah, hopefully for us setting up here in the commentary box, we get a shootout and a really entertaining game of footy. And we should mention as well, Tim Taranto playing game number 150 today, a 2-time best and fairest winner, one with the Giants and one with Richmond last year, pick number 2 back in 2016, so he brings up the 150 game milestone, and what a classy player he is.
He's another one who'll be hoping for a bit more of a consistent season next year, just to help out that next generation of Tigers coming through. So we're about 4 minutes away from the opening bounce here. Both sets of players out on the field warming up. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster with you. Nathan Burke will be with us shortly as well. 4 minutes to the bounce of the ball. Just an update from the MCG. It is Hawthorn with a 55-point advantage over Carlton, and they may even jump into the 8 by the end of this contest. The Blues down a few players on the bench, but Hawthorn teaching them a footy lesson, and they are going to zoom right past them and put themselves in with a real shot at finishing inside the 8. And not a team you'd want to play going into September, you feel like, at the Hawks.
It's been an incredible turnaround. I mean, to drop their first 5 and Sam Mitchell, you could see how frustrated he was at the start of the year. He knew what game plan he wanted to instill in the players, but it just wasn't clicking. And then over the course of the season, how they've grown and adapted to what he wants them to do, I think, has been one of the stories of the season for mine. And God, if they can sneak into the 8, absolutely agree with you. Them, the Western Bulldogs, I probably wouldn't want to play because, as we know, coming into finals, momentum is everything, and those two sides have it at the moment. So, but goodness me, what an absolute wild season. What a final series we're in for. I actually still can't get over, at the moment, the first 6 positions on the ladder are occupied by teams outside of Melbourne.
Yep.
And so for, the greatest season that we've had, we may have no finals in week 1. We may have no home preliminaries in week 3. And we may have an interstate final, which is, as a Queenslander, I always find very amusing because it upsets a lot of people here in Victoria, and I'm all here for it. So just another subplot to this crazy season that the interstate teams are currently getting it done. But a lot to play out in the final 2 rounds. Nothing is set in stone.
Absolutely not. If the last 24 hours has taught us anything, it'll be don't assume. So Sydney leading the way with 60 points. Port Adelaide on 56, as are the Giants and the Cats. Brisbane in 5th. Who would have thought at the start of the round, Brisbane outside of the top 4, the premiership favourites. Fremantle on 50 points. But they can be jumped this afternoon by the Western Bulldogs, who play in the twilight spot this afternoon. So a big afternoon for the Bulldogs because their percentage is pretty healthy too. So you feel like if any of Port Adelaide, GWS, I think they play each other in the run home too. If they slip up, well then the Bulldogs, they can continue their winning ways and they'll be right there amongst the top 4. Having said that, if they drop tonight, they could be in trouble come the end of the season, which is quite extraordinary. Toby Nankervis and Jack Steele have been out in the middle. Coin toss won by Jack Steele. He'll be kicking to the left of your radio dial. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster with you. We're about 60 seconds away from the bounce of the ball. Tip, Jess?
Oh, I reckon Richmond today. Yeah, just
Richmond
going for a little bit of an upset. I know that's wild to think, but I had a good feeling coming into last night that the Suns would win. So I'm going to back my gut feeling here today, and I reckon Richmond might just kind of sneak over the line. They've lost their last 7. This is not probably an educated tip, I think, by any stretch of the imagination. But why not? Sunday at Docklands, under the roof. Damien Hardwick broke his losing streak here last night. I reckon his former side's going to do it again.
You never know. I think the Saints should be good enough this afternoon. Just repeating those subs. It is Jimmy Webster, the experienced runner. He is off. as the sub to start this one, and Smith as well from the Tigers. So that is how we line up. It's all about hope. It's all about seeing the signs of what fans can look forward to next year and what is going to be a long off-season for both of these teams out of finals contention. But there is always something to build on and always something to look at in the latter stages of the season with plenty of kids in both of these teams. Umpire in the middle as we count down to the Dustin Martinless era. It begins at Tigerland. It is Richmond and St Kilda. This is Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Under the roof, you're with Jess Webster.
4 points up for grabs this afternoon. The Tigers and the Saints, and we're underway under the roof. From the ball up, Marshall hacks it out of the air and sends it to half forward for the Saints. Membry, the target, knocked away from him. Chasing after it is Dan Rioli for the Tigers. He's trying to keep it alive along the outer side wing, but Richmond have a say in that. Although it spills away of Battle. He hand passes into space, but it's a turnover. Now Hopper for the Tigers, a half-back, gets the hand pass out to Taranto. They share it around half-back, the Tigers. Now off to Broad, trying to get around Higgins. At left half-back, he sends a long bomb down the line. Hunter Clark in position A for the Saints, can't come down with it. Sinclair for the Saints. His hand pass is turned over, and now it's Banks who runs away for the Tigers. They move it past halfway. Inside 50 they go. Bolton, the target, got upstairs, couldn't come down with it. Battle is there for the Saints, and now off to Sinclair, tackled into the turf. The umpire calls for a ball up at left half forward. No score through the opening minute.
Warwick, he almost had prior opportunity there, but ball to be tossed up. It is immediately. Marshall reaches over the top, fans it towards the boundary line, kept in by Taranto. Handball's blindly forward. Now Bolton gathers left forward pocket. What can he do? He dribbles, and it dribbles across the face of goal. Howard there for the Saints, gathers, showed good composure and found Owens. That was lovely work by the key defender, showing all the poise in the world, and now Mitch Owens has it at left half back.
One of the young stars we spoke about pre-game, looking for a big game from him. He sends it backwards to Dougal Howard on the last line of defence. Flares the kick out wide to Cal Wilkie at right half back for the Saints. Chips it forward just a required distance to Jack Steele. Got it between wing and half back for the Saints. Called to play on now, and chips it short to Bradley Hill. So content just to play a bit of possession footy here early, the Saints. And now Hill bombs it to half forward. A big pack forms and a big fist came from Miller. Palms it down, ball to be one inside the centre square. Picked up by Graham of the Tigers. He gives it to Taranto from the centre square. Kicks it out to the city side wing, where it's marked by Banks. He chips it further afield. And now the Tigers can try and generate something. The kick went through the hands of Rioli. The Saints have well representation at half back, although Jones has run into a bit of trouble. Just got the hand pass away. And now they dive on top of it on the wing. No, it's a free kick for too high, going the Tigers' way.
So Hopper has it, edge of the centre square. No one on the mark, so he gains about 10 metres. Kicks a low ball inside 50, poorly directed. And Stocker there for the Saints to intercept. He goes short to Jones. Still inside defensive 50, switch of players okay to Wood, left half back. Wood has Owens over the top, couldn't reach him by foot, so just lays a huge swooping handball over the top of the man on the mark. Works the 1-2 and then back to Owens, so a little bit of stat padding there for both of them. Kick around the boundary was spoiled away from Marshall. Owens went and mopped up, got the hand pass to Marshall, but he turns it over. Now Richmond come away with it. McIntosh couldn't get out of the Wanganeen Miller tackle. Very strong. Tried to take him on. Wanganeen Miller wins the ball back at left half back for the Saints.
Hasn't been pretty early. Wanganeen Miller are called to play on. He chips laterally and finds Battle at half back. No one stands the mark, so he can take off. Has a bounce. Runs to half back, then sends it long in the Marshall direction in a one-on-one with Nankervis. The ball goes to ground. Owens had a fumble close to the boundary line. He was caught high in the end. Advantage is paid to Jones, to Clark. Spear and kick inside forward 50. And it's a good one. And coming out on the lead and taking the mark is Cooper Sharman, who can line up for the first goal of the game. He's 35 metres out, 45-degree angle to the left.
Had that good game a couple of weeks ago, where he was best on ground. Didn't get much of it last week, although wasn't given a hell of a lot of opportunity up forward with the way the Saints were moving the footy against the Lions.
He had a career best 21 disposals and 10 marks against Essendon in their big win a few weeks ago. We're right behind this kick. We'll get a good look at it. He keeps it low, stabs at it a little bit, but it's just snuck it home. And we have the opening goal at Docklands. St Kilda 1 straight 6, Richmond yet to score. We played 4.5 minutes. Opening terms, Sunday footy here on ABC Sport.
So just an update from the MCG. Carlton 5-7-37, trailing Hawthorn 14-14-98. Early stages of the final term there. Hawthorn doing all the attacking. So that makes things very interesting in the bottom half of the 8, especially. Hawthorn looking to jump inside at the conclusion of that one. St Kilda with the opener here. 1 straight 6, leading Richmond yet to score. Owens already has 5 possessions for the Saints. Battle with 4. Banks, Taranto, 3 apiece for the Tigers so far. Back in the middle, Nankervis in discussion with Taranto. He'll battle against Marshall. He runs straight across the diagonal. Marshall palms it down. And as far as Hopper, though, fed the hand pass out wide to Banks. He's been prominent early himself. Out wider still to Campbell. Ball didn't sit for him. Turnover. Wanganeen Miller, although he turns it over by hand. Lovely work here by the Tigers. Now Campbell has it. Left half forward. Kicks inside 50. And in front, Okajitski should have taken the mark. It was a push in the end. And he'll go back and line up from the left forward pocket. Nice ball movement there from the Tigers. Just seemed to be connected on that outer wing.
Interesting to see Dion Prestia wearing the long sleeves under the roof today. It's a gorgeous day outside, nearly 20 degrees in sunshine, so opting with the long sleeves today.
He's done that a little bit over the last couple of weeks. In comes Kajitski, left forward pocket. He'll kick from 45. Tough kick. It's pretty good, but it's just narrow. 4-1 behind. So first score of the afternoon for the Tigers is a minor. They trail by 5 points. We played 6 minutes here in the opening term.
Sinclair with the kick-in duties for the Saints. Chips short to Howard, and then he gives it back to Sinclair. Now the kick out wide. Close to the boundary line. Wood in a one-on-one with McIntosh, who thumps it over the line for a boundary throw-in between halfback and wing for St Kilda. Lead early by 5 points. These two sides met earlier in the season in round 4. St Kilda got up by 7 points that day. Tigers looking to turn the tables today. Just the 2 wins on their season. Ball back into play. Dow, the late inclusion, has a go for the Saints. Steele shares it with Stocker, and now Wood at half-back. Pumps it long to a one-on-one. Roving the contest is short, hemmed up against the boundary line. Kicks it around the corner, and that's a great mark taken by Mansell. No, it was play on in the end. Hill picks it up for the Saints. Now gives it to Marshall inside the centre square. Kicks St Kilda to half forward to a contest. Butler involved. Ball goes to ground. Membry collects. Then gives it off to Burns. Back to Membry from 40 out. Outside of the boot. Brilliant finish. The Saints have a couple. 2 straight 12, leading Richmond 1 behind. 7.5 travelled opening term on ABC Sport. It was a classy finish from Tim Membry on the outside of the boot and scores his 25th goal of the season. Lovely finish there by Membry, showing a bit of acceleration on the 1-2. To get inside 50. He's enjoyed a good month of footy, Tim Membry. I don't think he has a contract for next year either, as of yet, so he's one to watch. 3 times St Kilda leading goal kicker. Averaging 1.5 goals this season too. He's still in fine form. So Membry with his first of the afternoon. St Kilda with the lead by 11. 8 minutes played opening term here. This is Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster with you. Ball to be bounced in the middle. Then Curvis palms it down. Graham roved it nicely. Back to Taranto. High kick. It'll land inside 50. Well, Howard did well, did everything to manoeuvre his opponent underneath the ball. Ralph Smith onto it. Was he taken without it? No, said the umpire. Down now with it for the Saints. His clearing kick is not a good one. Goes to a one-on-one. Short played it pretty well. Got the hand pass back to Bolter, who just got around. And then his low kick is no good. Picked up beautifully, though, by Campbell. Wonderful gather. Goes to the top of the square. It gets over the back. Didn't quite have the journey, but it's socked through by Kajitski. Oh, it looked like it was just going to spin and be a rush behind, but he stuck a foot out.
And the opening goal for the Tigers of the afternoon comes after 10 minutes.
Oh, it was a wonderful finish just to get boot to ball, and it just shows the importance of getting it quick and deep inside your forward 50, and things can happen. So Dougal Howard did his best to try and get a hand to it. I think it was looking to the umpire saying, hey, you dragged my arm down, where's my free kick? But play on was the call, and the Tigers get there first.
It's a wonderful piece of footy on the outer side there by Campbell to gather. The bouncing ball spun and went straight away. So excellent response there by the Tigers.
Back in the middle we go. Steele trying to extract it for the Saints. Couldn't find a target. Now the Tigers turn through Banks. Gives it to Nankervis, who hand passes backwards to Short. Kicks laterally to Dan Rioli. Just the required distance. Still inside the centre square defensive side of halfway. Saints by 5. 2-1 in this opening quarter so far. Rioli short to Vlosten. He can take off. Send a long ball towards half forward, but the Tigers forwards were caught behind, and Josh Battle, standing in the way for the Saints, takes a nice defensive mark at half back.
A bit lucky there, almost could have been 50 after the late treatment. So Kilda are able to work it to Sinclair, and then to Wood, who has it at left half back. 2 straight 12 the Saints, 1-1-7 the Tigers, 10 played opening term. Wood goes to the point of the centre square, no mark taken. Nankervis almost had it, ground level. Graham fed it out to Dow. He got it back to Graham, then a blind handball. It was a little awkward, but picked up nicely. Broad onto it. He works the 1-2. Out further still to Short. Chips it over the top, back to Broad, who's almost approaching centre wing. Where's the next move here for the Tigers? Short is there. Short still wide if he wants, and eventually Broad flares it to him on the outer wing.
Nearly every player ahead of him here. Plenty of numbers up ahead for Broad. Just have to wind up and bomb it long towards half forward. A big pack forms. Ball goes to ground. Taranto first there for the Tigers. Lovely hand pass to Ralph Smith from the pocket. Dribbling kick is an absolute blinder. That was some finish from Ralph Smith. And the Tigers hit the lead. 2-1-13 plays St Kilda, 2 straight 12. 12 minutes gone opening term on ABC Sport.
What a finish.
This is what we wanted to see when we come to the footy today, Maisie. We want to see a good, open, free-flowing game of footy where these two sides just take the game on and see what can happen. And you take a look at the replays. Really well done by Taranto, who was spun in a tackle but just had enough to find Ralph Smith, and that finish was all class.
He's enjoyed a good year as well. Always works his backside off up and down the wing. One who has been recontracted, so good news for him. And just dribble that through beautifully. Expert finish. At the MCG, Hawthorn 104, Carlton 38. Still 9 minutes left to go in that one. We know how important percentage will be for those two teams. Back in the middle, Caminiti wins it out of the ruck. Feeds it back to Burns, who kicks inside 50. Through the hands of Loston. Out the back is Broad, who had to save the day. Didn't want to get caught holding the ball, so his hand pass to Hopper. Feeds it back, Short, composed. Hand pass to Broad. Snap is a little awkward. It's all St Kilda out there. Caminiti. Hand pass inboard, inside 50. Good fend off by Membry, and Membry to Dow, who takes the mark. 40 out directly in front. So Paddy Dow will line up for the immediate reply. It's a 1 point margin at the moment to the Tigers. The late in this afternoon, in case you're just joining us here on ABC Sport. Paddy Dow, the late in for Matthias Philippou, who was the late withdrawal for the Saints. So to make an impact. In he comes. Kicks from 45. It's a low ball. Does it get there? It does, but it's away to the left-hand side for one behind. So scores all level here after 13 minutes in the opening term. It's 2-1, 13 apiece.
We're on percentage watch at the MCG. Hawthorn are within 1%, 1.1% of Carlton. So they're closing. A big win for them is Gloston from the kick, and that is a thumping kick, almost reaches the wing on the outer side, looking for Rioli, and a battle with Membry. Rioli gathers at ground level, then hand passes to space, trying to hand pass to his own advantage, but the cavalry arrives. But Dan Rioli somehow steals the footy, sends the Tigers into attack to a pack. It gets out the back and it dribbles over the line for a boundary throw. But that was impressive from Dan Rioli. And we'll have a ball in 10 metres around from the Tigers' goal. Scores a level here at Docklands through 15 minutes of the opening term on ABC Sport.
The worst crowd that's come in either. There was fairly packed trains on the way here, which was good to see.
We have a special guest joining us, Maisie.
We'll get to him in a tick. We'll let him catch his breath first before he takes a seat. Ball to be tossed back into play here. Bit of a pause at the moment. I think there's a blood rule downstairs, so just waiting at the moment. Sinclair, the man to come back on, so he's going to trot all the way inside defensive 50. I think it's a cut.
He's not in a hurry to get off the ground.
No, we have been paused for almost 30 seconds there. So a little bit of a cut for McLennan, who made his debut last week just above the right eye. So a bit of blood to be cleaned up there. From the boundary throw-in, no one going anywhere. Graham was in there, ball pinned to him. We'll have a ball up inside attacking 50. Tossed up straight away. At ground level, Butler became the tackler. Clark just kicks it free. On the wing, Membry almost took a good mark going back with the flight, but Richmond are able to win the ball at ground level. Rioli feeds it back to Broad, who's been busy himself early. He feeds it back to Rioli, round the boundary, then kicks towards the top of 50. St Kilda with the numbers. Wilkie had a fumble at the last moment. Taranto hand passed it straight to Wanganeen Miller, who had no one around him. So he was able to pause, make a good decision. The kick wasn't so good, though, to the feet of Battle, who luckily was taken high. So just reset here, the Saints. And he feeds it to Sinclair, running across the face of goal. Aggressive kick up the middle is okay to Wanganeen Miller, still inside defensive 50.
Hand passes to Cal Wilkie, then gives it to Sinclair running off half back. Winds up and sends it long to half forward. It's a good-looking kick, and Higgins marks 2 kicks from goal. Hand passes to Mason Wood, hemmed up against the boundary line at left half forward. Beautiful delivery into the goal square, and Owens is on the end of it. And he'll line up for a shot at goal. Tight angle is only a few metres out, but deep in the left forward pocket for the Saints. A bright young star of this team and the competition. And he'll curl it around on the right for his first of the afternoon. And the Saints restore their advantage. They lead by 6 points. 3-1-19 plays Richmond 2-1-13. 17 minutes travelled opening term on ABC Sport. And for the first time this afternoon, it is a really big hello and welcome to our expert Nathan Burke.
Hello, Jess. Hello, Maisie. I thought I would take the opportunity to spend the first 10 minutes listening to you two. And I must say you're doing a fine job. There's no critique that I can throw your way. Keep the good work going. But yeah, hello everybody. Wonderful to be here. And just in time to see a very easy passage of play from the Saints. It was a free kick in the back pocket and it just went from one end of the ground. And really, Richmond weren't even in the contest. There was no spoiling of any marks. There was 4 marks. There was 4 unchained handballs, uncontested from one end to the other, and that's not a good sign for the Tigers.
It's been a bit of a theme, Berkey, for the opening 15 minutes so far. It's moved pretty quickly from one end to the other, and it's going Richmond's way. Bolton with the clearance. His hand pass, though, to McIntosh just missed him. St Kilda are able to swarm. Clark into the middle to Marshall, who takes the mark behind the centre circles. He wants to go quickly. Sees Higgins has a couple of metres on his opponent. Will the ball sit for him at half forward? It does. He gets it off to Butler. Wonderful tackle, though, by Bolter. Butler dispossessed. Richmond trying to get numbers. Broad again ran out of room. Shoved over by Higgins. We'll have a ball in 55 around from the St Kilda goal.
It was well done by Bolter then, because he was chasing Higgins, who managed to get off a handball, and then he managed to tackle the receiver of that handball as well. So very important intervention there.
Ball tossed back in, and then Curvis and Marshall and Ruck. Banks collects, but there's a whistle on play, and it's a free kick from the non-controlling umpire. It looks like it is a Richmond free kick at left half back. Might be Jacob Hopper out there with ball in hand. From defensive 50. Pumps it long down the wing to a contest, off hands. Ball gets out the back. Banks crashes the pack hard. And then looking for Bauer. He can't take the footy with him, and they've turned it over. Saints can reload a half-back Hill to Wanganeen Miller up. Defensive hand pass to Sinclair from right half-back. Chips it out wide and finds Josh Battle just inside the field of play.
He works it around the boundary line. Taken by Burns, who's looking for a way out. Runs through the wing. Central with his ball. Hankervis had the sip, punched away from him at ground level. Jones the tackler. Ball spilt free. Richmond side though. Short kick there is okay by Tresice, and he gets it out wider still to Banks. Then Taranto by hand. Now to Hopper. Now to Broad rather. He had nowhere to go. Fed it back to Banks and then back to Broad. Broad handball over the top. It's okay to Tresice, and that's a good short kick around the boundary. Now they can load up and go inside 50. Campbell to the top of the square. It is a mark. Going back with the flight, I think it's the young man, Bauer, who's in for his first game. 22-year-old, developing key position player. Had some good VFL form, and that's a good contested mark. 20 metres out directly in front.
Well, we'll call it contested mark because there was 3 or 4 other people in the pack, but no one actually touched him. And that's the problem for the Saints defenders. Dougal Howard came flying through and didn't take anybody, and it was young Darcy Wilson standing down there as well. It's really an uncontested mark in a contested marking situation.
So when he comes to kick the goal and finish his work, and he does. We're back level. 3-1-19 apiece, 20 played opening term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Quick score check from the G. Hawthorn 16-15-1-11 leading Carlton 5-8-38 with a couple of minutes left to go.
And just on that particular game, the margin that the Hawks have now put into the Carlton team means that they have now jumped into the 8. So they're equal with them on points, but they actually passed them with percentage by having such a big win. And for those who weren't listening, I think the Blues are down to 1, maybe 2 left on the bench, but the writing was on the wall before those injuries came about. Good play there by the Tigers. From what I've seen so far, it doesn't look like a bruising encounter this one by any stretch of the imagination.
9 tackles to 4 the way of the Tigers so
both
far.
Those last 2 goals came from uncontested marks in the forward line.
First game of the season for Bauer. 6 goals in the last 3 VFL games. Back in the middle we go. Hunter for the Saints wins the footy, gives it to Jones, pokes the kick forward. It'll bounce in front of Hill and get out the back. Rioli's there for the Tigers. Hand passes inboard to Bolton. He gives it back to Rioli. Roaming half back. He kicks for territory really on the wing, and that is a wonderful mark. Not paid in the end. Graham had a good piece of it, not paid. It ends up with Short on the broadcast wing. Hand passes backwards to Banks, who's been lively early. He gives it to Graham, centre wing. No one around him can do a 360 turn in the end and then measure a pass to Kaczynski, who's got it at right half forward. He's looking for Samson Ryan inside forward 50. The ball doesn't carry to him, and he gathers, tackled immediately by Howard, and we've got a stoppage 45 out from the Tigers' goal. Scores a level here at Docklands through 22 minutes of the opening term on ABC Sport.
It's been pinging around so much, it almost feels like it's late in the third quarter. Very free, this one, in terms of ball movement. High kick from the Tigers inside, attacking 50. Bit of a shove in the back. There were bodies everywhere. At ground level, Bolton got through 3 tackles, not the 4th, holding the ball. He was looking for an option by hand. When one didn't present, he was grabbed, and Battle has the free kick. Left back pocket. He can switch things up to the outer side. Clennon with that head strapped. Now that he's been attended to by the Docs downstairs after going off with the blood rule. Short kick to the right back pocket. Wilkie has it. 3-1-19 apiece. 23 played opening term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster with you. Nathan Burke, your expert this afternoon. Long kick up towards the wing. No mark taken. Out the back. Broad again with another disposal. To Hopper. Now to Banks. Now inboard. He has to make this kick, and he gets there. Tresice has it. Looking for the next way out. It's at right half back. Jaden Short the option. And then presenting and marking is Banks, who's been very busy in this opening term. Up to possession 10. And he'll run the boundary line and fire them towards the 50. Big spoil over the top by Howard on that occasion. Front and centre though. Graham onto it. But he kicks blindly inside attacking 50. Pushed off his kick. Mark taken by Wilkie.
Scores a level here at Docklands. Time on of the first term. Wilkie inside defensive 50 for the Saints. Winds up and bombs it towards the wing. Owens used the body well and takes a nice contested mark over Miller. It's got it in front of the two benches.
Miller's got to be stronger than that. He's got an extra 1 foot and kilograms on Mitch Owens. He can't be pushed out that easily.
Owen sends it to a pack at half forward, off hands. Roving is Wood, tackled immediately and brought to ground, and we've got a stoppage at left half forward for St Kilda. Kick the first two goals of the game. And Tigers hit back with the next two. And we've had one apiece since then. Good start to this contest. McIntosh from the ball up. Sockers it forward to Prestio, gives it to Rioli. Now they share it off half back. Miller from centre half back sends it out wide so that Tigers running onto it is Mansell. Kicks up towards half forward. Kajitsky's the target. Howard back with the flight. Spoils it down. Wilkie collects for the Saints. To Howard. Hand up against the boundary line. And now they can reload off half back. Jones. Hand passes out wide for McLennan. And now Burns. Hand passes to Hill. They've made it to the wing. He hand passes defensively back to McLennan. Now to Darcy Wilson. Wheels around onto the right. Sends it forward. Kick doesn't quite have the carry to Membry. Feeds it to Hill. Then gives it to Burns. He scrubs the kick forward. Reading it best is Bolter, who can reload off half-back for the Tigers.
Bolter with a blind kick, end over end ball. There was no one there except for Zach Jones, who was actually getting some attention from the trainer, sort of shoved them away and said, I better grab this. He kicks to half forward. Mark taken and lace out. Marshall, strong lead, strong grab, uncontested. Caminiti put it on a plate for him.
There was Marshall inside 50 and 2 Richmond players. So it was 1-on-2, and I'm thinking, okay, well, the Tigers have done well there. They let Marshall just wander, didn't even lead quickly at the kicker and take the ball 45 metres out. A 2-on-1. It just confounds me, modern day defending, if that is acceptable from the Richmond coach's box.
7 tackles for the Saints, 11 tackles for the Tigers, which gives you an indication of how open and free-flowing this one is. Oh, it's a lovely kick by Marshall too. Goes the double cobble with the celebration as well. So St Kilda have their fourth. They lead 4-1-25. Richmond 3-1-19. 1 goal the margin. And we're just ticking into the 27-minute mark of the opening term.
I'm just trying to find who the other Richmond player down there was. I think it was Marshall's direct opponent as a ruck, but there was another Richmond player standing in front, and they both just let him wander straight past. Camden McIntosh, he was down there as well. You're experienced enough to know that someone needs to get on the opposition player at some stage. That was disgraceful. So I'm not sure who the Richmond defensive coach is, but hopefully quarter time he shows something like that and says, guys, this is modern day football. This is a home game for the Tigers. It's 3/4 of Richmond people here watching. They expect to see something better than that because that was atrocious. We
spoke pre-game, Berkey, that it's a real winnable game for both teams today, and we're expecting a red-hot contest, and it's more like a Sunday stroll you feel for these two sides out there at the moment. From the restart, Bolton wins the clearance for the Tigers, punts them forward, inside forward 50. Kajitsky in a wrestle with Wilkie, and he gives away the free kick to Cal Wilkie, who wins that battle. Bit of holding going either way. The umpire, it is Cal Wilkie's free kick. No, it's not. It's Wayne Miller's free kick. So we'll have to bring it all the way back inside defensive 50.
It's a bit unusual. He actually had the ball.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the holding came from. Pretty sure he allowed a hold blokes with the football.
Thinking the same thing. It was very harsh if he held him half a second too long.
Wayne Miller kicks to Jones, who then kicks out wide to Marshall, pokes it down the line to Wangadi Miller, defensive side of the wing. Unsure where to go, wants to take on Prester on the mark, winds up and kicks it to a big packet half forward for the Saints, and Membry from the side reels in a lovely mark. 55 from home at right half forward. Saints by 6 points, close to quarter time. Membry kicks to full forward, looking for a flyer, and they got one, just wearing the opposition colours. Toby Nankervis on the last line defence for the Tigers.
His short kick is okay. Natras has it. Oh, it's a little bit too wide. His ball, and it pitches a metre inside in front of Samson Ryan and out for a boundary throw-in. 2 kicks out from the St Kilda goal. They lead 4-1-25. Richmond 3-1-19. Played 28 minutes opening term, full time at the MCG. Hawthorn 16-16, 112, beating Carlton 5-8-38. They sit inside the top 8. Might not move for the rest of the season from the ruck contest. Then Curvis knocks it down. It trickles end over end for a boundary throw-in.
Saints have taken 30 marks so far, on track for 120, which is almost world record pace. Only 2 of those have been contested, so 28 uncontested marks so far.
Thrown back into play. Still 70 around from the St Kilda goal. Steele with the clearance. Ran onto that beautifully. Kicks to the top of the square. Marshall almost had it. Now a chance at ground level. Owens to Butler. Slams it on the boot and misses. Misses everything, actually.
It was harder to miss everything than actually kick a goal from where he was.
Just had to kick it end over end from the top of the square. Rushed kick, but he's put it out of bounds on the full.
Broad with a free kick, chip short to Damrioli. Just puts his hand in the air to signal let's just slow it down a little bit because he knew the siren was imminent. Quarter time here at Docklands. It is St Kilda leading by 6 points. 4-1-25 plays Richmond 3-1-19. Your goal kickers for Richmond. Singles to Hugo Ralph-Smith, Jacob Kajitsky and Jacob Bauer. And for St Kilda, all singles as well. Mitch Owens, Rowan Marshall, Tim Membry and Cooper Sharman, your goal kickers.
So a 74-point win for the Saints sees them inside the top 8. Very different proposition for both of these two teams. It's a 1-goal lead to St Kilda at quarter time. You're listening to Sunday Footy on ABC Sport.
If you love country music, you'll love ABC Country.
You get a fast car.
It's Australia's home of country music. The music you grew up with.
You'll be the captain.
All the latest country hits.
I ain't proud of all the punches that I've thrown.
And emerging artists.
Because baby, we've been apart.
24 hours commercial free. ABC Country. It's on your DAB Plus digital radio and the ABC Listen app.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Jones to Clark, spear and kick inside forward 50, and it's a good one. And coming out on the lead and taking the mark is Cooper Sharman, who can line up the first goal of the game. He's 35 metres out, 45-degree angle to the left. We're right behind this kick. We'll get a good look at it. He keeps it low, stabs at it a little bit, but it's just snuck it home. And we have the opening goal at Docklands. Hill picks it up for the Saints. Now gives it to Marshall inside the centre square. Kicks St Kilda to half forward to a contest. Butler involved. Ball goes to ground. Membry collects. Gives it off to Burns. Back to Membry from 40 out. Outside of the boot. Brilliant finish. The Saints have a couple.
Picked up beautifully though by Campbell. Wonderful gather. Goes to the top of the square. It gets over the back. Didn't quite have the duty, but it's socket through by Kajitsky. Oh, it looked like it was just going to spin and be a rush behind, but he stuck a foot out. And the opening goal for the Tigers of the afternoon comes after 10 minutes.
Ball goes to ground. Taranto first there for the Tigers. Lovely hand pass to Ralph Smith from the pocket. Dribbling kick is an absolute blinder. That was some finish from Ralph Smith. Higgins marks, 2 kicks from goal. Hand passes to Mason Wood. Hemmed up against the boundary line. Left half forward. Beautiful delivery into the goal square and Owens is on the end of it. He'll line up for a shot at goal. Tight angle is only a few metres out, but deep in the left forward pocket for the Saints. And he'll curl it around on the right for his first of the afternoon.
Campbell to the top of the square. It is a mark. Going back with the flight, it's the young man, Bauer, who's in for his first game. 22-year-old, developing key position player. So when he comes to kick the goal and finish his work, and he does.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
Welcome back to the Docklands. Under the roof here on what feels like a September day in Melbourne. It is Richmond and St Kilda. The Tigers trailing by a goal, 3-1-19. St Kilda 4-1-25. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster calling the action for you. Your expert this afternoon on ABC Sport is Nathan Burke. Berkey, what did you make of that first term? It feels like a September day, but you couldn't quite say this has September intensity about it.
No, it doesn't certainly have any form of September intensity about it. It's uncontested possessions are 75-74 in favour of the Tigers. The Saints have taken, as we said, Saints have taken 30 marks already, on track for 120 marks, which is enormous. The Tigers have only taken 17, so the Saints are defending a little bit better. 19 turnovers each, which is not a great stat for either side. In terms of possessions, Rioli's had 11, and young Sam Banks has had 11, so he's off to a ripping start for the Saints. Sinclair 9, Battle 9, and Mitch Owens has had the 8 and 1 goal, so he looks lively, which is good news for the Saints supporters out there. Look, it's going to be one of those games where it's free-flowing. You're going to get quite a few opportunities to actually score. It's who makes the most of those opportunities to score and is accurate at the moment, 3-1 and 4-1, which probably goes to show that they're getting shots for goal dead in front, which is, again, pretty lax defending from both teams. Inside 50s are 13-9 in favour of the Tigers. So getting plenty of opportunities, but it's really which team can make the most of when they get that free ball through the middle of the ground, and they're going to get a lot of chances. Who can take them? That's the key.
Yeah, Banks had a stack of ball early, so we were looking a little earlier, Berkey, at some of the signs for both sets of supporters today. You know, Owens is putting together some good footy later in the year for the Saints, but on the Tigers side of things, I thought Banks, that's almost the best quarter of footy he's played. He was very involved.
Yeah, 5 kicks, 6 handballs, going at 80%. 3 marks, which is always good when he's own footy, 6 handball received. So he's getting the ball in a number of ways, and that's what you want to see from the young fellas, that they can either get a lot of handball receives, and if they get a dozen possessions, or then 8 of them might be handball receives, that says they're good at doing that, but can actually win their own football as well. He's got a couple of contested possessions up his belt, taken 3 marks, some handball receives, so he's getting the football in a variety of ways, which is really important.
So as both teams break up and head to their respective positions, it is a 1-goal lead. If you're just joining us, St Kilda 4-1-25 leading Richmond 3-1-19. There was a late out too, if you're just tuning in. So Paddy Dow, who had been dropped back into the starting lineup this afternoon, Mateus Philippou, the late out for the Saints. So he is one of their bright sparks. A little disappointing not to see him this afternoon, but we'll see plenty more of him over the next 10 years in St Kilda colours. So back in the middle, and we're about to start the second term as players get to their positions and the TV commitments finish below us. Umpire has the ball back in the middle. Marshall and Nankervis to go at it in the ruck. And it might be recalled here. It is. It was a false start of the second term.
Should we just go to throwing the ball up now, considering that the ruckmen don't jump anymore? I think someone in the ruck union has said, hey guys, let's not jump. Oh, these two did. It's very highly unusual for rucks.
And it's actually Nankervis with the clearance as well. Fitted out wide to Taranto. Then another possession for Banks, who goes into the forward pocket. Bolton did well enough to push his player underneath, but what a spoil. Wilkie coming back with the flight off his opponent. Third man up in the contest and kills it over the boundary line and out of bounds.
On the ball up, I'm a bit of a traditionalist.
Me too.
I
Me
like
too.
the bounce, but what about if we just do it maybe to start the game, like a nice little ceremonial bounce, and then maybe throw it up for the rest of the game? I don't know. I don't want to lose it completely. I think it's a unique part of our game, but yeah, if the umpires aren't having a good day,
if not having a good day, just say, hey, I'm not having a good day, I'm going to chuck it up. No one's going to complain about that.
The other thing we've seen too is a lot of ruckmen are now just edging over that halfway point in the circle, and they don't, as you mentioned, they don't jump.
No, they don't jump anymore. The other thing is, if you're having a bad day, just tell the other blokes, you guys do all the bounces, I won't do any.
Marshall with a clearing kick outside defensive 50 to the wing. Caminiti in the contest couldn't bring it in. Membry has a go, couldn't find a target with the hand pass. And Rioli's brought to ground in a tackle, so we'll have a stoppage on the city side wing. St Kilda by 6 points, early stages, second term on ABC Sport. Jess Webster and Andrew Mays calling the action. Nathan Burke with us in expert commentary. Tigers win the clearance. Dow hand passes backwards to Short, who just jams it on the boot. A high kick inside forward 50. Coming across and spoiling is Wanganeen Miller. Ball alive inside forward 50. Close to the line, Wood in a tangle with Bauer, and the umpire calls for a throw-in. 35 around from the Tigers' goal, and they trail St Kilda by 6 points.
Clearances are 10-8 in favour of the Tigers. They're doing a good job sort of locking the ball up their end and winning that inside 50s in that first quarter on the back of that.
St Kilda by a goal. Second term here on ABC Sport. 2 minutes played. Hill, hand pass to Sinclair. Kicks an end-over-end ball out. Caminiti did well. Got the hand pass away to Membry. Caminiti was upended in the tackle as well. Almost could have landed awkwardly. Gets it to Dow, who kicks forward. No mark taken at the back of the pack inside defensive 50. It's Flostone, who's looking for a way out. It was over the head of Campbell. Did him absolutely no favours. Chance for the Saints. Wood onto it now. He's 60 from goal. Umpire blew a whistle and then said play on. Wood kicked to the pocket. It bounced over Owen's head and out for a boundary throw-in.
Everybody stopped. I just don't think you can pay advantage when it's not. Isn't the rule it has to be continuous?
Yeah, I think Bolter went the bump on young Darcy Wilson, I think it was, after he got rid of the ball, and it looked like he did sort of put a little hand up to the forehead, which is, as we know, it's not a good sign for players these days.
So deep forward here for the Saints, but Richmond are able to get numbers to the ball, come away with it. Now it's Rioli who has it at right half back. Rioli has Miller in the goal square, but he's not looking backwards, he's looking forwards.
Will we see him in Suns colours next year, Berkey?
Who's that?
Dan Rioli?
It won't be Richmond, I don't think.
His kick is intercepted. Good mark by Battle, who rises on the wing to take it.
Got a lot of decisions to make, the Tigers, on how deep they cut and how deep they restart again.
Battle bombs it long, and Sharman from behind couldn't reel it in. Spills to Higgins, gives it to Clark, and then to Dow. He's stripped to the footy. Going in hard. The contest was Wilson. He was brought to ground. We've got a stoppage 40 out from the Saints goal. They lead by 6 points, 4 minutes into the second quarter on ABC Sport.
This is where the list managers earn the big bucks.
Marshall taps it down to Owens, gives it back to Marshall, squeezes a kick forward to the top of the square. Bolter in position A for the Tigers, takes the mark in the last line defence.
Bolter has McIntosh, who'd run hard, just overkicked it a little. McIntosh couldn't reel it in with the one hand. And it's over and out of bounds, 70 around from the St Kilda goal. And they've got decisions, we were talking about it before, so think about Liam Baker, who they would get some pretty good compensation for, you would feel, as a free agent.
Everyone's scared of what Tasmania are going to get,
Yep.
so early draft picks are worth their weight in gold this year especially, and next.
If you're going to do it in the next couple of years, you feel. Meanwhile, the Saints are away. They're inside 50. Dow stepped beautifully around one, pulls the trigger and kicks a great goal. Paddy Dow, the late inclusion. And he has the first of the second term for the Saints. They've kicked 5 now, 5-1-31. Leading the Tigers 3-1-19. We've played 5 minutes in the second quarter.
That's a bit of class there from Paddy Dow. He did the old shuffle jump sideways and got himself a little bit free, and a lovely kick from around about 40 metres out, close to the boundary line. So it's not what he's sort of known for. It's more of a hard-working accumulator, but certainly that was as good a goal as you want to see this weekend.
8th game of the season for Paddy Dow, his second goal.
Yeah, started off the year injured, had a pretty poor end to his pre-season, so he just hasn't had a real free run at his new club, and it'll be interesting to see what he can get out of himself next year with a really good pre-season.
High draft pick number 3 a few years ago in 2017. Back in the middle we go. Marshall wins the tap, but straight down to Hopper of the Tigers, gives it off to Nankervis, jams it on the boot, a high up and under inside forward 50, camped underneath it is Kajitsky, couldn't get hands to it, it spills to Prestia, hand passes to Ralph Smith from 40 out, on the right, he hooks it around the corner towards the teeth of goal, but standing in the way is Josh Battle, takes the mark and quickly hand passes to Sinclair. It's got some space inside defensive 50, runs his full measure, sends a high ball to the wing, and Sharman having to play from behind, spoils it away over the line for a boundary throw-in just near the two interchange benches on the dockside wing. St Kilda by 12.
We spoke about a few of the experienced players that need to stand up. Bolton 4 possessions. That was Prestia's second possession for the match. McIntosh has had 1. It's not getting stacks out of their senior players this afternoon. The Tigers from the ruck contest. It's knocked down by Nankervis and trickles away from McIntosh out for a boundary throw-in right on the wing.
See Ralph Smith playing on the half-forward line. Normally he's been pretty much a steady wing player, but pushing him forward a little bit. He's got great running capacity, so he can get up the ground and push back inside 50 when he needs to.
Thrown back into play. Stocker tried to grab it. Taranto, he was dispossessed. Nice spin out of trouble by Burns, and then bought a bit of time for Sinclair as he fed the hand pass back. Sinclair, short kick, went about 8 metres. Marked by Jones, and Jones short to Burns, who'd made the running just behind centre wing.
It's obvious what the Saints want to do. They just want to maintain possession at all costs.
Short kick, It's knocked away from Jones, but Steele was there to mop up. Back to Burns with the hand pass. That's a better kick. Clark's made the running at right half forward, and he can kick them inside attacking 50.
And he's drawn Bolter up the ground too, so they need to get it back inside.
Tried to spear the kick to Butler, rather. He couldn't complete the mark, and now the ball to be won on the wing. Burns has a go. Hunter, he picks it up. He hand passes to Butler. Trying to get around Bolter, who slipped over. Tripped him, in fact, and then it's picked up by Clark. This is not a pretty passage of play. Gives it back to Butler. Now to Hill. Runs the boundary line. Sends the Saints inside forward 50, and they got a mark. I don't know how they managed to get a mark out of all of that, but Mason Wood is going to line up for a shot at goal, 40 metres out, slide angle to the right.
That was a slide tackle. I'd seen a few of them in Manchester United, Manchester City overnight.
And Dan Butler sort of leant down and said to the umpire, hey, he's kicked me in the leg up, put the hand up, and where's my free kick? But the umpire said no, and quite smartly he kept playing on and kicking forward 50, and Mason Wood come from the far wing to take a grab.
From 45 out, kick is on its way, and it slams into the post. 4A behind, St Kilda by 13 points, 5-2-32 plays Richmond 3-1-19, 9 minutes travelled, second term Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
Might have been a yellow card. In another code.
When they drag Bolter outside 50 and he's standing on the mark 70 metres out for goal, that's when they've got to go and get it in there quickly. He's the best interceptor, disruptor in that Richmond backline, so got to make the most when he comes up high.
Flostone, long kick out of defence, lands on the wing, Wilson there. Kept in by Marshall, kick around the boundary line is excellent. Dow takes the mark. He can cut back inside here, 70 round from goal, kicks inside 50, Membry, got a run at it and a jump. And a grab. And he'll line up left forward pocket. Distance won't be a factor, 30 out from goal.
If the ball gets kicked 50 metres into the opposition's forward line and a player can take an uncontested mark, that means that as a defender you are too far away from them. It's as simple as that. Yep, we get it that we're playing off our player and we're trying to force the ball long, but if you can't get there when they take an uncontested mark, well then you're too far away. You need to readjust.
Membry has one for the afternoon. Flirts with the right goalpost, but sneaks it in. He now has two. The Saints have 6. 6-2-38, plays 3-1-19. Margin is 19. We've played 10 minutes in this second term.
Again, that's a second uncontested mark shot for goal we've seen from the Saints so far this quarter. It looks to me a little bit like quite a few of the Richmond defenders and sort of defensive midfielders are saying, you know what, if I get 25 touches here, that's a good day. And I'll probably get a pat on the back from somebody. And that's my first thought. How can I actually get the ball in my hands a fair bit rather than thinking, you know, my number one job is to defend. And then if I can get some possessions as well then that's a good day. Just forgetting that first part of their job as defenders.
Saints for the last 3 of the game either side of quarter time. Started to open things up here in the second quarter. Richmond need a response. Back in the middle we go. Hopper fighting for it for the Tigers. Couldn't find Taranto. It's picked up by Zach Jones of the Saints. From the wing, he sends St Kilda back inside forward 50. Higgins the target, and that is an incredible mark taken by Trezise in a one-on-one battle.
I'm glad the umpire let that go as well. There was a little bit of pushing and shoving and sort of spinning a player out of the way, but one was just stronger than the other one, so let that go.
Kicks it to the wing. Ralph Smith the target through his hands, picked up by Nankervis. A blind kick around the corner, he's turned it over. And Angus McLennan, the second game up, takes the mark for the Saints at halfback.
He looked pretty settled last week in his first game. Oops,
short to Howard, who turned it over. Centre half forward here. Now Campbell's onto it. Gives it out wide and inboard to Taranto. Lovely delivery. And Taranto can line up. He's 40 metres out directly in front.
And didn't see which St Kilda player it was, but he was trying to hit Jack Steele in the middle of the ground.
Howard.
Howard. It was just a 20-metre kick that didn't quite make the distance, but then again, Jack Steele, the ball half volley at the toes, you've got to be able to keep that ball in and not fumble it forward. So poor play all round by the Saints and deserve to have a goal against them.
So Taranto lining up, starts his approach from inside the centre square. He'll kick from about 45. The Richmond midfielder, milestone game today, comes in and misses by a long way. has been his challenge over his career. 3-2-20 the Tigers, 6-2-38 the Saints. Played 12 minutes second term. Andrew Mason, Jess Webster calling it for you. Nathan Burke, your expert.
Sinclair with the kick in, chip short to Howard. And then chips it short to Wanganeen Miller. Still inside defensive 50. Saints by 6 at quarter time. So Wanganeen Miller chips very short to McLennan, who marks and then takes off from half back. Sends it long to the outer wing, off hands, roving at best as memory, wheels around and pumps it inside forward 50. And looking for Sharman, and that is a great mark. He's taken it 40 metres out from home, 45-degree angle to the right.
It was good. He was running. It was just a indiscriminate long kick forward, and Sharman had to run a good 20-25 metres to get there. And I love to see guys just jumping up, taking the ball at its very highest point. That was a good mark again. They had a player behind him, but wasn't putting a lot of physical pressure on his back. He was close, but I wouldn't call that physical pressure from the Tigers.
He'll start his approach from outside forward 50. From right on the 50-metre line, and he bangs it home. Superb finish for his second goal of the afternoon, and it's a new game-high lead to St Kilda. They lead by 24 points, 7-2-44, plays Richmond 3-2-20, 14 travelled, second term on ABC Sport. Your expert is Nathan Burke.
Well, the Saints supporters are saying, well, last week was a bit of an abomination, but the week before against the Bombers, their kicking for goal was quite phenomenal, actually. It certainly got them the win in the end, even though Essendon were pretty dismal in that second half. The start of the year, they couldn't hit the cow's backside with a banjo. That's how deadly they were in front of goals, but they've found their kicking boots late in the season when it doesn't really matter, which is a good sign for the Saints supporters. But Cooper Sharman, that was a lovely, good leading mark and a wonderful finish from 50.
Speaking of good signs late in the season, he's been one of them for the Saints. Marshall palms it down, but defensive side of the stoppage, it is all Richmond. Taranto to Hopper to Ryan. His kick smothered, was loading up, trying to pump that inside 50. Banks onto it though, got the hand pass away to Graham, who feeds it back to Trezise. High kick inside 50, and it's all Battle. He had that. His name written all over that. The moment it left Trezise's boot. Battle runs a little. McLennan takes the mark, and then he goes very wide, almost too wide. Luckily, taken inside by Cal Wilkie, who has it right back pocket.
Wants to kick it back to the top of the defensive goal square to Howard, and then gives it back to Wilkie. Wants to switch it to the outer side. He chips it short to McLennan. They're still inside defensive 50, the Saints. 5 or 6 possessions in their defensive 50. McLennan's kick out wide, looking for Marshall, who's marked it just inside the field of play, and it's going to be 50. So this will march him to half forward.
I don't mind the physicality from the big fella. What I would have loved would have just stayed next to my opponent so he didn't take it. Oh, there's another uncontested mark.
Marshall chips it to Bradley Hill, who's marked just inside forward 50 at left half forward, and he went to chip it short, but he's kicked it right into the man in the mark. Up to Mansell, who's marked. He marked the kick from Banks, and then this is Kajitsky, who's got it on the outer wing. Chips it further afield to Samson Ryan, who's marked in space at half forward. He can look to send it forward for the Tigers.
Short ball is okay from Ryan, and he finds Banks, who kept on running.
He's been everywhere.
Yeah, 15 disposals. This will be his 16th. Running really nicely. Kicks to the top of the square. Wanganeen Miller up. Drop the mark. Wilkie down. Hand pass to Battle. Back to Wanganeen Miller, who's on his own goal line. Kick has to be precise. It is. And is that 50? Higgins wanted it. Didn't quite get it. His short pass is okay, though. He finds Sinclair.
The old keepings off is what we've got at the moment.
It's Wilson, rather, and that's a good ball to Dow. Dow feeds the run of Hill over the wing and inside 50, almost, yes. Caminiti front on contact. Butler's out the back here. He won't be able to get it to him quickly enough, so Caminiti will have to go back and line up from 50.
I don't really know about that free kick, to be totally honest. It was both players coming from different directions. wasn't really that much of a front-on contact. He actually moved behind him and ended up spoiling the ball from behind him. So, yeah, a bit hard done by there, the Tigers.
So Caminiti on behind this afternoon. Have to kick this from just beyond 50. 45-degree angle to the right. He hits it pretty well. If it holds its line, it doesn't quite. Faded late for one behind. 7-3-45 the Saints. 3-2-20 the Tigers. 18 minutes gone second term. Hawthorn big winners today over Carlton. Adelaide have the first goal against the Dogs. They lead by 6 points.
Danger game, that one.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, I really reckon that the Crows are a good thing. Talented side at home with nothing to lose. And there's nothing more dangerous on your run home to the finals, especially if you've come off sort of 4 really good wins in a row. There might be just that tendency to take the foot off the pedal 5%. And if you're playing the Crows at home on a hot sunny day in Adelaide, then that's a real danger one.
Rankin back in too.
They said last time you played on that ground, you got flogged.
Saints by 25. Richmond share it across half-back, then send it long to a pack on the wing and turned it over. Dow gives it to Clark. Hand pass out wide for Battle, who's running the boundary line on the outer side. He kicks up towards half-forward, Broad in position A, and he takes the mark over Higgins. Inside defensive 50 for the Tigers. They've only scored the one behind this quarter. Saints have added 3 to the tally. They led by 6 at quarter time. Broad chips in board to Blostone. A searching kick out wide. It's a good one and finds Dan Rioli at right half back.
Kick short to Graham. Graham back in board, aggressive ball, but it's okay to Hopper. And Hopper can go wide. They've got numbers out here. McIntosh, left half forward, point of the centre square, kicks inside, 50, mark taken. Quite sure whether Dow has the distance in him here. Brothers kicked one already this afternoon. He goes short into the forward pocket. McIntosh kept on running, and he does have the journey. He'll have to kick from just inside 50, 5 metres inside the boundary.
Sometimes in football training, you want guys to practice those short kicks and short passes and running into holes, and you tell the opposition to just go half pace, just token, allow them to mark it, create some holes. That's what this looks like.
Yep.
Like a training run where, we'll just maintain possession, boys, and defenders, you just go half rat power.
So he'll kick from 49, Camden McIntosh. Journey wasn't a problem. Accuracy was. In fact, missed everything. Narrow the entire way. 3-2-20 Richmond. 7-3-45 the Saints. 20 played second term. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster calling it for you this afternoon. And Nathan Burke is your expert.
Wilson, nice kick, finds Wanganeen Miller up. He kicks it out wide to Battle, who's got space at half back. Takes the mark and plays on. Has a bounce. Then loops the hand pass over the top to Hill. On the city side wing, drills it to half forward. Looking for Higgins in the contest. Good spoil from Broad. And the opposite over the line for a boundary throw in it left half forward for St Kilda. They lead by 25 as we tick into time 1 in the second quarter. Sunday footy here on ABC Sport. Jess Webster and Andrew Mays calling the action with Nathan Burke, your expert.
Higgins has got Broad on him, who's a foot taller than him, and the last 2 entries, it's been Higgins in the leading position where the ball is getting kicked to, and Broad's just having a field day knocking that away, so they need to switch that around. Higgins, you get out of that spot, get further up the ground, so you're actually drawing Broad out, you're running into front and centre, and getting one of the taller players to actually be the target.
Tossed up to the outside of the contest. Hiding in low was Hopper. Tried to get her to Banks, couldn't do so. Knocked away from him and out for a boundary throw-in. 60 around from the St Kilda goal. 25 points the margin in favour of the Saints. Western Bulldogs have one behind. Adelaide 1-1-7, so 1 goal still the margin there early going in the opening term at the Adelaide Oval. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Toss back into play. Running through the stoppage. Steele couldn't grab it. Hacked out of there by the Tigers. Ryan came late to make the spoil. Did well enough to provide the contest. Ralph Smith, though, he missed the target with his handball. Graham in there, shrugs one tackle, kicks off the left. It was an awkward one. Rioli just got his hands free. Swept it out wide to the running Graham. Kick inside 50, 2-on-1. Wanganeen Malira gave the free kick away. So Bow will have this. Just outside 50, it would take his best. Slight angle to the right. Hill stands the mark at 45.
Wanganeen Miller is going to have a field day today because his player is coming up into the contest around the middle of the ground, and more often than not, he's the spare St Kilda player, first one back inside his defensive 50.
So 1 goal already for the returning Bauer this afternoon. First game of the season. Kicks from 51. Jeez, he's got the distance easily. What about that for a kick? It's landed in the third row. Straight through the middle. Lovely connection with the footy. And Richmond have their first of this second term. It's taken 22 minutes, 4-2-26. The Saints 7-3-45.
You're right, Maisie. That was a wonderful kick. He kicked it from around about 51, just a walk-up start to the kick. Probably even kicked it. The man on the mark was 49, so yeah, kicked it from around about 51, just walked up, and you're right, I'm just counting, it was 3 rows back. Excellent calling, Maisie. But you can kick the ball that far, why can't you kick more goals? Because pretty much every time you get it, you should be almost having a shot.
Yeah.
First game of the season for Jacob Bauer, and he's got 2 goals in the first half. It's the 5th game of his career, the 22-year-old.
I'm not sure his story, whether he's been injured or just out of form, but he's got a good size and he moves around pretty well and kick the ball like a mule.
Back in the middle we go. Jones gets the hand pass out to Steele. Hand passes over his head to Sinclair. Look out. Had to tap it on intelligently to Marshall. Sweeping hand pass. Didn't hit a target. A bouncing ball towards half forward. Trezise one way. Hunt to the other. Ball spills loose. Bolton almost kicking in danger. Yes, it is. So a free kick going the way of Zach Jones. He's got it at half forward for St Kilda. They lead by 19 points. Richmond with the last goal of the game. As we tick down towards half-time, Jones short to Sinclair, is marked on the edge of the centre square. Dishes it off to Stocker, pokes the pass inside forward, 50 and standing all alone is Hunter Clark. Thought he had a couple of options in the pocket, thought about going there, but thought about another option, and now he's deciding to go back on his mark and have a look at goal.
That's called having too many options. He's going to have a shot from 45, but the other players were slightly closer, slightly worse angles, but Richmond had just conceded that he was the one who was going to have a shot.
45 metres out, right of centre. Hunter Clark comes in and looks offline, doesn't even have the journey, and it's knocked through for a rush behind. Margin 20 points the way of St Kilda, 7-4-46. Richmond 4-2, 26-25 gone, second term on ABC Sport.
Short with the kick out. Hits to Dan Curvis, who's centrally, back to Short, then by hand, out wide to Bolter, and now to Rioli. Rioli has it at right half back, outside defensive 50. Waving some instructions to his teammates up the park. Takes a bounce. Runs even with Jones, who was on the mark. Then a long kick around the boundary. St Kilda with the numbers. Big jump by Bauer, punched away from him. And then a huge tackle coming from behind, surely holding the ball it was. Banks a little slow on that occasion. Owens wins himself a free kick. Left half back. Back to Howard inside defensive 50.
He chips it short to Sinclair. Left half back for the Saints.
1-2-8 apiece after 12 minutes in the opening term at the Adelaide Oval between the Dogs and the Crows.
Saints by 20 points here at Docklands. Sinclair goes across the face of goal to Wanganeen Miller. It's marked on the flank. He kicks it to the wing. He finds Dow just in front of the interchange gates. Chips in board to Marshall. He kicks short to Jack Steele. 2 kicks from home on the broadcast wing. No one stands the mark, so Jack Steele just roams 10 metres and then pumps it long to a dangerous position off hands. Although Trezise is claiming the mark, and it's paid. A big pack. He got some hands to it and then reeled it in on the second attempt and kicks it backwards to Bolter inside the defensive goal square.
Saints have got 3, almost 4 big fellas down there if you count Mitch Owens, and not one of them led at Jack Steele. He's running 55 metres out straight towards goal, and they all just said kick it up in the air, so you've got them and their opponents. You've got 8 players all trying to mark it, which is just ridiculous forward play.
Bolter to Rioli. Pulled the kick at the last moment. It was a nice one too for Taranto, who took the mark, but copped some heavy treatment, so a little slow to get to his feet. Gave St Kilda time to reset their zone. He then kicks back inside defensive 50 to Bolter, and rather casually, as if it is a Sunday stroll, took a bounce back inside, and he rifles one low to Rioli, who seems to have run about 150 metres in the last 30 seconds. Back to Bolter. He says, I've had enough. I'm going to kick it as long as I can, up towards the top of 50. No mark taken at ground level. Richmond try and get numbers there. Campbell looking for the hand pass over the top. Power inside to Bolton. Top of the square, snaps and goals. Well, Bolter got it going with his 50-metre pass forward, and at ground level, the Tigers got the numbers and the result. Richmond have their fifth, 5-2-32. St Kilda 7-4-46, approaching the 28-minute mark of the second term.
Well, young McLennan there for the Saints learned a valuable lesson. If you are not good below your knees in this game, you will get hurt, and the other team will kick a goal. It was a fairly simple rolling ball that came off the back of the pack towards him, and he just completely ran over it, didn't even really touch the ball, and there was 3 Richmond players who then just chained it to the top of the goal square where Bolton put it through. So difference between a great player and an ordinary player is what they do below their knees. So I know it's only his second game of football, but it's a really valuable lesson. It's something that he can work on over the off-season.
Good response from the Tigers. The Saints kicked the first 3. This second term opened up a 25-point gap, and the Tigers have responded with the last 2. Margin at 14 points, close to half-time rather. And there is the siren to mark half-time here at Docklands. Round 22 action between the 18th placed Richmond and 14th placed St Kilda. The Saints head into half-time with a 14-point lead. 7-4-46 plays Richmond, 5-2-32. Goal kickers for the Saints, 2 each to Tim Membry and Cooper Sharman, and singles to Paddy Dow, Rowan Marshall and Mitch Owens. And for Richmond, 2 to Jacob Bauer in his first game for the season, and singles to Shea Bolton, Jacob Koschitzky and Hugo Ralphsmith.
Earlier today, Hawthorn fired themselves into the 8 with a 74-point demolition of Carlton at the MCG. Live score from the Adelaide Oval, and it is Fogarty lining up for a goal. Adelaide leading early in that one, halfway through the first term, 2-2-14. Western Bulldogs 1-8, and Fogarty with a very kickable chance here to put them a couple of goals up. So an interesting watch on that one this afternoon as well. But at halftime here under the roof, it is St Kilda who led by 6 points at quarter time, now with a 14-point advantage. 7-4 plays 5-2. How'd you see that first half of footy, Berkey?
It's an unusual first half of football.
It is. It's got a weird feel, doesn't it?
It does.
Very weird feel.
It does. It's I don't know whether it's Richmond's home game, so
Yeah,
there's a lot of Richmond supporters here. Do they know how to make noise in this place?
They don't like coming here.
They don't like
We
coming
know
here. They're sitting there with their arms folded. They're a little bit grumpy. So there's not a lot of atmosphere within the place, and the players are playing that way as well. It's the Saints are up to 64 uncontested marks now. As I said, they're on world record pace here at the moment. Clearances 14 each, inside 50s 22 each. I said at quarter time, this game's going to be won by the team who can actually just do that last bit, that mark the ball and kick a goal inside 50 better than the other one. And in that quarter, I think the Tigers had the better of the first 6 or 7 minutes. Then the Saints took over. Then the Tigers had probably the better of the last 6 or 7 minutes. And the difference was purely Saints put 3 in and the Tigers only put 1 in. And that was the difference between these two teams. It's really obvious what the Saints want to do. They just want to maintain possession. And that's short kick, short kick, short kick. And the Tigers have got no intention at all of actually trying to stop that. They're just going, you know what, get it back to the half-back line. We'll win the footy there, and then we'll try and shoot one forward from there, because we've probably got a little bit more of a pacier midfield. The Saints with Steele, Hunter Clark, Paddy Dow. I wouldn't call it a dynamic midfield by any stretch. So you look at Rioli, who's had the 19 possessions now. If Bolton can work his way through there, Taranto's up to 15 possessions now. So Presti's only had the 2 handballs. So there's a big improvement there from that young man. So whether they're thinking that, hey, you know what, we'll get them on the turnover and keep an open forward line. Bauer's been good with his 2 goals. Different game styles. It's not traditional, hard, tough football, if that's what you love. But you know what? It's hopefully we might get a close one at the end, and that'll keep us all entertained.
A bit like last night at the MCG, which was listening and watching parts of that. That was not the prettiest game of football either, but got the close end, which got everyone excited. So it's been an interesting first half here under the roof
Probably the opposite of the game I saw down in Tasmania yesterday, where it was very contested and congested for the majority of the game, and it was only for little short periods that West Coast were able to break the game open, kick 3 goals in 2 minutes a couple of times, and that was the difference in the end. But for the majority of the game, it was just a bit of a slog up and down the ground, so completely opposite.
I was in Brisbane yesterday, and very much the same theme where, it was all Brisbane in the first term. Adam Kingsley came out and gave one of the great bakes for not being contested enough, and then the Giants were able to respond over the last 3 terms. But
the word going around the airport last night in Hobart was that Clarko was back to his best.
Was he? Okay.
And gave them an almighty spray.
Did he?
After throwing that one away.
Post-match, right.
Post-match.
They've thrown a couple away this season.
Yes, talking to a couple of North Melbourne officials. They were still had eyes like dinner plates after hearing it. But they said, it was well-deserved. No more close, honourable losses for the North. They're better than that now, and he's got to put the hard word on them, and he certainly did that.
Yeah, we haven't heard Clarko's masterclass much over the last couple of years, so he won't be happy with that one. So, and interestingly, they're only a game ahead now of Richmond. 5-2-32 at halftime, the Tigers. 7-4-46, the Saints. A 14-point margin in favour of St Kilda. More analysis to come a little later on. Adelaide, meanwhile, 3-2-20, leading the Western Bulldogs 1-3-9. There's about 8 minutes left in the opening term, and if you're just tuning in, it was a big win earlier today for the Hawks. The final score at the MCG, 16-16, 112 the Hawks to Carlton 5-8-38, with plenty of injuries to go as well. So a bad day at the office for them. That might even be a fork in their season. Time now, though, to get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with Tanmay Navada. Ukrainian officials say 2 people have died after debris from a downed Russian drone or missile fell on the house they were living in near the capital, Kyiv. They say the victims were a 4-year-old boy and his 35-year-old father, while a 13-year-old child is reportedly among the injured. There's no immediate comment from Russia. Kyiv and Moscow both deny targeting civilians in the war, which Russia began with an invasion in February 2022 and which has now killed dozens of people and displaced millions of Ukrainians. The White House says far too many civilians are dying in Gaza after an Israeli airstrike on a school where thousands of displaced people were sheltering. The BBC's Jenny Kumar reports.
Witnesses said the building also served as a mosque and that the missiles hit during dawn prayers. The Israeli military said it killed at least 19 Hamas and Islamic Jihad members. Hamas denied this, saying not a single combatant was killed. A White House statement said they know Hamas has been using schools to operate out of, but they have repeatedly asked that Israel take steps to minimize civilian harm. A US spokesman said that a ceasefire and hostage deal is urgently needed.
The son of ousted Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina says she'll return to the country when elections are called. Ms Hasina resigned and fled the country last week following deadly mass protests and is currently in India. Media in Bangladesh are reporting more than 500 people died in weeks of demonstrations against her government, many of them shot by police. It was the worst violence Bangladesh has seen since its War of Independence in 1971. Her son says Ms Hasina has not yet decided if she'll go back into politics when she returns to the country. Back home, the federal Greens are refusing to say whether they'll support the government's bid to appoint an independent administrator to the embattled CFMEU. The government is demanding the Parliament support urgent legislation this week, which seeks to appoint an independent administrator to the construction division of the union. But Greens MP Max Chandler-Mather has told Sky News his party is yet to see the legislation.
Well, this is absurd. The government's trying to kick off a debate about a piece of legislation. They won't show any of the parliamentarians they're asking to pass. I mean, and this is typical of the government, by the way. The number of times they play politics like this, they try and leverage the power that they have as the government, refuse to show people pieces of legislation.
A person is suffering facial burns following an e-bike fire in a Western Sydney unit. Fire and rescue crews were called to the property at Carramar at about 2:30 this morning. About 60 firefighters were on the scene and they contained the blaze to the second floor unit. Acting Superintendent Matt Sigmund says they're investigating whether a lithium-ion battery for an e-bike caused it.
When they're overheated or overcharged or damaged in some way, can go into what we call thermal runaway, which is where a reaction happens in the battery and a large volume of toxic vapours emit from the battery at a high rate, and those vapours are flammable.
The latest data from Queensland Health shows nearly 38,000 public patients have undergone elective surgery in the 3 months to June. The state recorded 195,000 referrals for elective surgery in the last financial year, an increase of almost 5.5%. Health Minister Shannon Fentiman says 80% of patients were treated within recommended timeframes and has thanked healthcare workers for their efforts.
I'm so proud of our hard-working doctors and nurses. They have been working around the clock to bring down our long waits for elective surgery. So this is such good news, despite more people needing surgery than ever before.
And thousands have flocked to Sydney's Bondi Beach this afternoon after finishing the annual City to Surf Fun Run. More than 90,000 walkers and runners took part, raising more than $3.5 million for various charities. One family dressed as black and white spotted cows during their walk in honour of their 3-year-old daughter, Sophie. Her father, Matthew Norman, says family and friends have entered the event since she died in 2017.
So we're raising funds in memory of our daughter, Sophie, who passed away from leukemia when she was 3. Her favourite animal was a cow, so we will do it for her and raise money on behalf of the Sydney Children's Hospital.
Leanne Pompiani won the women's division, crossing the finish line in 45 minutes and 37 seconds, while Isaac Hayne won the men's division, finishing in 40 minutes and 49 seconds. You're up to date with the latest ABC News.
Get a unique perspective on the world around you through ABC iView, like with Australian Story.
Notable Australians, amazing lives.
I got kissed on the arse by that rainbow, no question.
7:30.
What were you most afraid of? Never see family again?
Four Corners.
I think I'm done, guys. You walking out, really?
Nemesis.
They destroyed each other's governments. Politics is personal.
And Landline.
Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
Always free, always informative on ABC iView.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
The Saints are away. They're inside 50. Dow step beautifully around one, pulls the trigger and kicks a great goal. Paddy Dow, the late inclusion. He has the first of the second term for the Saints. Kept in by Marshall. Kick around the boundary line is excellent. Dow takes the mark. He can cut back inside here. 70 round from goal. Kicks inside 50. Membry got a run at it and a jump. And he'll line up left forward pocket. Flirts with the right goal post but sneaks it in. He now has 2. The Saints have 6.
Moving at best as Membry wheels around and pumps it inside forward 50. And looking for Sharman, and that is a great mark. He's taken it 40 metres out from home. 45-degree angle to the right. Start his approach from outside forward 50. From right on the 50-metre line, and he bangs it home. Superb finish for his second goal of the afternoon.
Rioli just got his hands free, scooped it out wide to the running Graham, kick inside 50, 2-on-1. Wangani Malira gave the free kick away. Now we'll have this just outside 50. It would take his best. Slight angle to the right. Kicks from 51. Jeez, he's got the distance easily. What about that for a kick? It's landed in the third row. Straight through the middle. Lovely connection with the footy. And Richmond have their first of this second term. It's taken 22 minutes. Campbell looking for the hand pass over the top. Power inside to Bolton. Top of the square, snaps and goals. Well, Bolton got it going with his 50-metre pass forward. And at ground level, the Tigers got the numbers and the result. Richmond have their 5th.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
Half-time here at the Docklands. It is St Kilda 7-4-46, leading to Richmond 5-2-32. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster with you. Nathan Burke, your expert on ABC footy this afternoon. If you're just joining us as well, just to update you on a couple of other scores. So early today it was Hawthorn with a huge win over Carlton that's fired themselves back inside the top 8. That'll be for the first time this year. 16-16, 112 to Carlton 5-8-38. Obviously, it's a 14-point advantage here for St Kilda. And over at the Adelaide Oval, I wonder if the Doggy supporters listening might just be getting a little nervous. Opening term, 2.5 minutes to go. Adelaide 5-2-32, leading the Western Bulldogs 1-4-10. Berkey, you predicted this.
I tipped it. But also the Bulldogs, a classic first quarter inaccuracy.
Yep.
They've been 1-7, 1-8. They're 1-4 at the moment. Missed a couple of easy ones. I saw Norton miss an easy one. So they're getting the chances. They're just not making the most of it. So hopefully for the Bulldog supporters, they can straighten up very, very quickly.
I was down at Geelong last week where Adelaide probably should have won that game in the end, bar a bit of Jeremy Cameron magic. And you thought, maybe Geelong are off and they're not the real deal. But then to see what the Cats did yesterday franks that form from Adelaide. So, they may be going a lot better than what people are giving them credit for. Because if you look at the ladder, they're out of contention, but they're lowly. They're 15th.
Yeah.
But they don't look like a side that's 15th on the ladder.
No, not at all. Once you get their forward line all back in and firing,
yep,
that's good looking. Dawson and these blokes, they're still very good footballers.
Yep.
Through the middle of the ground, and Rankin's, as we said, back in there. There's nothing more dangerous than a talented team with nothing to lose.
Yep.
And it's been the history of the Saints. I think one of their biggest problems is that at the start of the season, if they make the finals the year before, there's expectation. And they just don't. And listen, my fault, going right back to when I played, and didn't handle the expectation at the start of the year. We always won more games at the second half of the year than the first half of the year because pressure's off. There's no finals involved. You're a talented team. Just go out there and have a crack, and no expectation. And we used to win more games. And the same thing happens to the modern day Saints, and something that the club as a whole needs to overcome.
Yeah, it's been a problem for a number of teams, or even Carlton this year have shown they haven't been able to handle the expectation.
Look at Essendon.
Essendon the same. Yeah, it's been the story for a few teams. And the way we were talking about Sydney 8 weeks ago, there was a lot different to how we're talking about them now as well. And even Collingwood with the back-to-back discussion at the start of the year, and then bringing in Lockie Schultz, who has only seemed to add to them, and now they're going to enter the draft if Hawthorn go deep. I think their first pick in the draft is tied up with Hawthorn, so the deeper they go, the later Collingwood will enter the national draft this year. So, yeah, very interesting times. And then, obviously, a lot of these teams, Berkey, and we focused a little bit on St Kilda and Richmond before this one, priorities become a talking point now. What do we need out of the draft? Is there a player or a free agent they can get in? We might just quickly touch on the Saints. Is there a glaring need? Are they one elite midfielder short to sort of lead this next generation of Saints with... they've got quite a few good young players over the last couple of years with Filippo and Owens, and there's good signs there, but do they have that elite midfielder in there at the moment?
No, they don't. There's a sameness. They're all good workhorses, but there's a sameness about their midfield. So you look at what's out there today. You've got Jones, Steele, Paddy Dow, Hunter Clark. They're your main four out there today. So the ones who are missing are Crouch and a Seb Ross. They were hoping Philippou would come on quicker than he did in the first half of the year to be a point of difference as a midfielder. But I think Ross and the team know if they're going to contend with the top teams, they need to redesign that midfield, and that's where they will absolutely be targeting. Got some good young players up forward, so leave that alone. I'd love a big, tall defender as well, but the midfield is where they need to regenerate.
Wilkie obviously has played out of his skin for the last couple of years, and it's just been Mr. Consistency down back, but you wonder if he can even go to another level. If he didn't have to take the big bopper every week and you've got him zoning off, he could be an intercept mark king.
There's a player I've targeted, and his name's Bailey Williams, plays for West Coast.
Yep.
He's a good Frankston lad growing up. He's not a first ruck. He's not big enough to be a first ruck. Yesterday, Cherry was just a foot taller than him.
Yep.
He's mobile, marks well, reads the play well, settle him down in a position, because West Coast they put him forward when Oscar Allen isn't playing. When he's playing, they chuck him back in the middle, and he's been chucked all over the place. To me, he would be a player that I'd be going, hey, West Coast, what do you want for this young fella? Because that big, strong centre-half back, Wilkie can just run around and do what he wants. That's what they're missing, and settle the young man down. I reckon he can play that role really, really well.
Talk a little bit more in the second half about a few of those list decisions that Richmond have to make as well, with just a fortnight left in the season, and then all eyes will turn towards the off-season for both of these clubs. Plenty of scope for improvement, and obviously St Kilda a little more advanced as opposed to where Richmond are in their list build. And it doesn't help when you're absolutely smashed by injuries, which the Tigers have been this year, including a couple of their bright young sparks. Not seeing Tom Brown out there this afternoon, and the same with Gibcus doing that ACL earlier in the season. So they'll get a couple of those back for the start of next year, and hopefully they're fit and firing and ready to go. 7-4-46 St Kilda, 5-2-32 Richmond. Half-time here in what has been a pretty open, free-flowing, not the greatest defensive game you'll ever see from both of these two teams, but it is a 14-point margin for the Saints, who led by just 6 points at quarter time and have opened that margin up to 14, and it's all on Richmond now to respond in this second half. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster calling the action for you. Nathan Burke, your expert on ABC Sport, as the players wander back to their positions. The late out today is one of the people we were talking about, Matthias Filippo, who was a late withdrawal. Paddy Dow came into the lineup for him, so initially dropped from the lineup, but he's now out there. Jimmy Webster is the sub for the Saints, and Smith the sub for the Tigers. Happened in the first quarter, this. Every player was in position. We had to wait about 30 seconds as they'd overdone it. All the players just paused at the moment, waiting for the siren to recommence this one. It is a 14-point margin in favour of the Saints as we start the second half. You're with Jess Webster.
Nankervis and Marshall in ruck. Nankervis wins the tapper straight down to Jones of St Kilda. He gives it to Clark to steal. Back to Clark from the centre circles. Bombs it inside forward 54. The Saints over the head of Sharman. And it spills down the way of Higgins, who just kicks backwards in the end. And it's marked by Wood. 55 out from goal, left half forward.
It was a smart kick by Higgins. He had one arm held, so he didn't try and get around a player, just kicked it backwards.
Wood directs his kick into the pocket. Membry one hand to it, couldn't reel it in. It goes out of play for a throw in 20 metres around from the Saints goal. They lead by 14 points after leading by 6 at quarter time. And we're 30 seconds into the third quarter Sunday footy here on ABC Sport.
That was Membry, Owens and Caminetti all going for the same ball in the pocket. They need to work better together as a unit.
Toss back into play. From the clearance, Graham, handball is good. Out wide to short, goes on a trot, took a couple of bounces, and then his inboard kick is good to Presti, who's ditched the long sleeves for the second half. Only his third possession of the game, that one. Hand pass to Hopper, who works the 1-2 with Bolton, into Vlost, and now he overcooked the hand pass, but it sits okay for Graham. A wobbler inside 50, not sure that was the intended target, but it's landed on Ryan's chest, and he can go back 40 out, 45-degree angle to the right. That was a wobbler.
Yeah, Ross Lyon will be furious about that, because Richmond's handballing, I think every third one hit the target, and they gave them multiple chances to actually tackle and win that ball back through the middle of the ground, because Richmond just kept mucking up the handballs and they couldn't do it. Just goes to show that they're not switched on defensively.
Maybe he was the target, just looking at the replay. He just didn't execute the drop punt. Can Ryan execute the drop punt? Not quite. Away to the left for one behind. First score of the second half is that behind. 5-3-33 at the Tigers. 7-4-46 St Kilda. Third quarter here. We're 2 minutes in.
He went the bit of the early celebration, shoved one arm up in the air, then thought, oh, hang on, it's a little bit early, and yep.
Wanganeen Miller from the kick-in runs to the pocket, then sprays it out of bounds on the full free kick to the Tigers at left half forward, and Ryan Mansell will gladly accept the footy.
I did see Samson Ryan earlier in the year playing VFL, and he gave the shush to the crowd.
Oh,
at the VFL level, yes.
Mansell kicks to full forward. Ryan hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. Saints have representation on the last line defence. Wilkie to Wanganeen Miller right on the last line. Doesn't want to concede it, then chips it forward. Doesn't hit the target. Hopper for the Tigers. gives it to Taranto, swinging around on the right, a high kick to the goal line. It's touched as it went through, and that's a lucky let-off for the Saints. Margin is 12 points. St Kilda 7-4, 46. Richmond 5-4, 34. 3 minutes played, third term on ABC Sport.
Wanganeen Miller has stood there for a minute, waiting for anyone to tackle him. St Kilda work it out through Wilkie, and now to Mason Wood, who's left half back. Looking inboard initially.
Was so reluctant to kick the long ball down the line.
That's where he's forced to go. Membry will be the flyer. Didn't jump in the end. Bolter coming across the front of the pack. Takes a good contested mark for the Tigers.
The one on by the Tigers, they stopped the short passes, forced them long, allowed Bolter to do what he does. Now they're going to do the same thing back to the Saints.
It's a good win for them. Prestia offers a short lead to McIntosh, who took the mark from Bolter's kick. McIntosh runs the boundary line, then kicks to right half forward over the head of Kajitsky in the end. Owens onto it, loops the hand pass back to Wanganeen Miller and out to Sinclair by hand. Forced onto his left, and that is a beautiful delivery off his left foot onto the chest of Owens. Owens can cut back inside. Eventually goes a little longer. It's 2-on-1 here. Membry actually marked uncontested in the end. He can swing inside 50.
Open forward 50. Kicks to a contest about 20 metres out from goal. Over the head of Higgins. Burns to run after it. Jams it on the boot. He doesn't get good connection. As close to the line. Over and out. Free kick to the Tigers in the left back pocket.
Been an interesting start in the third term, Ricky.
If anyone can tell me why a St Kilda player didn't actually lead at Membry, which is the easiest thing to do in the game, it's the easiest way to get a free kick, and they just run backwards with their hand in the end, wanting to take Mark of the Year. It's not even a prize for Mark of the Year.
Saints by 12. Banks long kick to the wing off hands, and Tigers still come up with it. They share it across half-back. Banks gets it back again. Arioli. He's tackled as he got the hand pass away. Now it's a turnover. Caminiti, a couple of fumbles, but eventually got it to Jones. He was tackled by Rioli, no free kick. Jones recollects, then defensive hand pass to Battle, adjacent to the centre circles, bombs it inside forward 50. It's ill-directed, and McIntosh takes the defensive grab for the Tigers.
Well, the coaches weren't able to regroup the teams at half-time and focus them, that's for sure.
Wouldn't need another break. McIntosh, he overcooks the kick.
Lead at him.
Straight to Wood, who's forced to kick long. He might have actually pulled the trigger towards goal himself. Big fist over the top, sat up easily for Bolter, who was able to punch it through for a rush behind.
Tim Membry, I'm looking at you.
It has been a messy start to this second half. It's St Kilda by 13, and we're 5 minutes in.
Tim Membry, he's standing 20 metres out for goal with his hands out, just saying, kick it to me. If the ball goes to you, you're going to get intercepted. If you ran forward at the kicker, if you just walked forward at the kicker, you would have marked it 20 out and had a shot for goal. Just forward craft in this Saints team all year has been, I'll call it spade a spade, it's been atrocious. It really has been atrocious.
Tigers from the kick in, work it to Miller at left half back. He'll wind up and bomb it long to a contest at half forward. It's a great mark taken by Wilkie. Just read it best, stuck the mitts up and reeled in the mark. Kicks laterally to Wanganeen Miller. I hear hand passes to Brad Hill from inside defensive 50. Flares the kick out to the broadcast wing and finds Mason Wood all alone at left half back. He can run, take a bounce, bullet the pass down the line and finds Cooper Sharman in front of the two interchange benches. St Kilda by 13.
Sharman bites off a kick centrally. It's a good one too. Wanganeen Miller has got a paddock in front of him. He's able to waltz to 70 and just dart the pass into the chest of Jack Steele, who marks at 51. Doesn't have the journey, so he goes short himself. And Sinclair just waited for it, spoiled away from him. Now it's a rebound opportunity for the Tigers. They're out here. Prestia, long kick to Dow. He's got Bolton inside attacking 50, gets to 50 himself, passes to Bolton. That's good footy. Bolton led at him finally. He was running back towards goal, and then the easy hit up came, and Bolton can go back and try and kick his second of the afternoon.
Jack Sinclair, this is not Thursday afternoon at training. You can't just stand there at the 50-metre line and wait for the ball to come. Well, half the time you can in this game, but on that occasion you can't.
So Shea Bolton. Tight-ish angle, 45 degree, distance not a problem, and he makes no mistake. He has his second of the afternoon, and this just gets a little bit more interesting. Richmond 6-4-40, St Kilda 7-5-47. 7.5 minutes played in this third term. Nothing to write home about, but the Tigers are hanging around the Saints.
absolutely. And Shea Bolton's good forward craft. So your player is streaming down the wing, you run back towards goals, and as soon as your opponent turns around to see where you are, then you just stop and lead straight back at the kicker. And that's what he did. Took an uncontested mark 20 metres out, 45-degree angle. And it becomes such an easy thing to do. And it's what they learn at training. But actually transferring that into the game, sometimes it's difficult for some players. So well done, Shea Bolton, a bit of good forward craft, and got yourself a goal.
Question on notice here for you, Berkey, from Tom in Benalla. Can you offer an opinion on what should be Richmond's priorities with the upcoming draft and trade period?
Back in the middle we go. Taranto overran it. We'll come back to you, Berkey. Prestia lays a tackle. Ralph Smith collects the footy. He's spun in a 360 from Jack Steele. Should be holding the ball, and it is. Free kick to the Saints inside the centre square. Their lead is 7 points. Meanwhile, at the Adelaide Oval, it's the Crows by 26 over the Bulldogs. Steele runs inboard, then kicks the Saints inside forward. 50 in front of the contest is named Curvis. It spills down to Marshall. He skies it towards the pocket. It is out of bounds on the full. Free kick to the Tigers in the left back pocket. St Kilda by 7.
Well, the last two snapshots for goal from the Saints have both gone out on the full. So that accuracy I was talking about in that first half left it in change rooms.
Flostone with a dicey kick. A 2-on-1. Wood made the contest down to Membry, who snaps the easiest of goals. Oh, that is a shocking turnover. Couldn't do it in a worse place. And Membry has 3 for the afternoon.
Floston, experienced player, one of the most experienced Tigers out there on the field, and that's just inexplicable, really. There was 3 Saints players there ready to put the pressure on Nankervis. Okay, there's taking the game on, and there's trying to bite off far more than you can chew, and that's what he did on that occasion. Well done, Mason Wood, bringing the ball to ground, and Memory front and centre snap, and a goal. Far too easy. This game's probably going to be tight. Can't be giving away those sorts of goals.
8-5-53 St Kilda, Richmond 6-4-40, approaching the 10-minute mark of this third quarter. And poor old Adam Uze downstairs will be absolutely pulling his hair out.
From the restart, bounces offline umpire calls play on as Nankervis whacks it forward, only as far as Jones of St Kilda. He hand passes to Battle, who gives it back to Jones. On the edge of the centre square, pokes the kick out wide, and Burns is marked defensive side of the outer wing. Chips on the 45 and finds Butler. Still defensive side of halfway. Then he kicks long towards half forward. Knocked away from Nankervis over Marshall. And the Tigers come up with it through Rioli at half back. Chips laterally to Taranto. He's marked at left half back for the tie. Saints by 13.
Taranto keeps it low. Again, difficult one. Kicked over the head of Banks and allowed Burns to take the mark. Now Marshall off to Hill, who kicks inside 50. Membry out the back, and he mark it again, not quite. Good spoil in the end by Flostone, and sees it over the boundary and out of bounds. Membry gets to his feet, thought he might be a little gingery. He's okay.
Membry takes one step further into that contest. The play coming back doesn't spoil the ball, makes front on contact, and he gets himself a shot for goal.
Toss back into play. Marshall won it down. Lovely roving by Dowie. Snap at goal was smothered. Outside attacking 50 here for the Saints. Still won it back to Burns inside 50. Holding is paid. Will it be advantage and a mark to Higgins? He'll want it, and he gets it. No, umpire's going to overrule it, give it to Roll Marshall. He was held in the contest. I don't know why we just don't leave the advantage and have it with Higgins.
Normally if a player marks it, the umpire might go, yeah, all right, let's just, you marked it, away you go. But he was adamant Rowan's going to take it. To be honest, I think Saints supporters would rather Rowan Marshall take this than Jack Higgins.
Do you know what would be fun? Is if you just leave it to the players to decide.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd go along with that and see who the great. I'm tipping the small forward might argue his case very strongly.
I would like to see that.
Marshall from inside 40, right forward, pocket, delivers. That's his second of the afternoon too. And St Kilda, for all Richmond's hard work in the opening 5 or so minutes, they've got 2 in a row, and the margin is back out to 19 points. Score is 6-4-40 the Tigers, 9-5-59 St Kilda. In Adelaide, the Crows 6-2-38 leading the Western Bulldogs, 2 goals 7-19.
again, I wouldn't say the Saints are playing far better football than what the Tigers are. It's just that they're making the most of their opportunities. They're taking some marks inside 50. They were gifted one goal that Membry got. That one there was just a free kick to Rowan Marshall. It was a lovely finish from a tightish angle. But again, it's that delivery inside 50 that is going to be the sole difference in this game.
Saints by 19 points, back in the middle. Samson Ryan into the ruck for the Tigers. Wins the tap, then gathers the footy. Gives it off to Dow. Wheels around and sends it to high forward. Ralph Smith in a one-on-one against McLennan. McLennan wins it at ground level, gives it to Sinclair. Now off to Wood, hemmed up against the boundary line. Kick partially smothered. It ricochets to short. His kick smothered by Wilson. Over the boundary line, we'll have a throw-in between wing and half forward. In Richmond's attacking half of the ground. Saints by 19 points.
Cameraman copped a good falcon downstairs as well, trying to capture the footy, landed on his head. Ball to be thrown back into play. Right half forward here for Richmond. Ryan went down to the front of the pack. Hopper's there trying to work his way out of a tackle, couldn't do so. Hand pass to Rioli. He gets out of one tackle. And stepped in between two Saints. Took a bounce, took the game on, looking for the 1-2, runs inboard. Excellent work from Rioli, and the kick is good too. Inside the centre circles to find Flostone.
And he directs it to half forward. It's a lovely kick. Mansell marks it left half forward. 55 from home, wheels around and pumps it to a dangerous position. Ralph Smith takes the mark at the top of the goal square.
Yeah, young McLennan just got lost. He was in two minds. He went back to look for his player and turned his back on the ball coming in, and Ralph Smith kept his eye on the ball and in the end took an uncontested mark top of the goal square. So again, a good learning point for the young man.
For his second goal and to restore an equal game high lead, he pops it through. Saints by 25. 10-5-65 plays Richmond 7-4-46. I've got the score completely wrong, haven't I? St Kilda by 13 points. Richmond kicked the goal, not St Kilda. Saints by 13, 9-5-59. Richmond 7-4-46, 15 gone, third term on ABC Sport.
Well, Dan Butler and Darcy Wilson, if you had your time again, you would tackle Rioli with your arms, not your fingers, because a guy who can twist and turn and move as quickly as he can, you're not going to be able to grab hold of him. And he led three of them a merry dance out here on the wing. Ball went across to the middle of the ground, and again, it was just McLennan, inexperienced, just looking for the body of his opponent, not looking at the actual ball, and uncontested mark for Ralph Smith, who's kicked two. Good on him.
It's been excellent today, Rioli. From the middle, is it a free kick going Richmond's way? It is.
It's called a shepherd umpire. If you stand in front of a player and the ball hits the ground, it's against that player who does that.
Ryan out to the wing, finds McIntosh. Bolton was going for a trot pass, but that was a sprint. Really wanting the footy. Ignored. Hammered inside 50. Deep entry. No mark taken. Out the back. Bolton. And then Bowers taken in a tackle. No prior opportunity. Umpire will ball it up 35 from the Richmond goal. Yeah, Dan Rioli at 415 metres gained. No other Richmond players had more than about 280.
Up to 25 possessions now.
From the ball up, Taranto trying to break free. Somehow got booted to ball. It's marked by Short. Did that extremely well as he was tackled. And Short can line up for a goal, 40 out.
Dan Butler, if your opponent on the half-back line goes and stands 40 metres out from goal, you can't stand on the 50-metre line and just expect your teammate's going to get it and send it your way.
Jaden Short for two in a row to the Tigers. He's pushed it away to the right. Margin 12 points. They're hanging in there, the Tigers. St Kilda 9-5-59. Richmond 7-5-47. 17 played third term on ABC Sport.
Jeez, he back him in there.
He just took it very, very casually. He just sort of trotted back and sauntered his way in.
Brad Hill ends up with the footy, goes to the wing. Prestia and Owens matched up. Prestia kept it in, did extremely well to get it to Gajitsky. Hospital hand pass to Dow, who smashed in the tackle, bounced away from Owens, bounced favourably though for Hill. Nice pick up through centre wing to half forward, hand pass to Dow, high kick to the top of the square where are the Flyers. Well done, Bolter. Going back with the flight, backed into the pack and took a good strong contested mark. Flares it out to right half back where Banks has the footy.
$5 on offer for the first Saints player who leads at the player coming through the ground.
Bangs down the line, finds Kuzitsky, is marked in front of the interchange benches. Kicks it in the Ryan direction, has a couple to beat. Brought it to ground. The ball goes out of play for a throw-in 50 metres around from the Tigers' goals. Kilda by 12.
What does Noah Bolter want? Does he want to chase somebody who's leading, or does he want the ball kicked high in the air so he can come over and intercept?
Rioli with 25 disposals today. Banks up to 20. Sinclair leading the way with 20 for the Saints. Throwing it half forward for the Tigers. Nankervis and Marshall in ruck. Nankervis palms it down to Prestia, who's tackled immediately. We've got a ball up at half forward for Richmond.
Umpire clears a path for himself, then throws it up. Nankervis coming through with the free kick. Dow, blind hand pass forward. His brother had a fumble for the Tigers. Who didn't though was Flostone. He turned it over though by hand. Now a chance for Owens, who spun in the tackle, got the hand pass away to space. Miller attacks it well for the Tigers. Over to Hopper by hand. Now to Short. He goes out wider to Banks to settle things down for the Tigers. They trail by 2 straight kicks. Third quarter, you just feel like they're pressing here, Richmond.
Banks winds up and sends it to a pack. Inside forward, 50 across the pack was Bauer. Hands to it, no mark. And Wangan and Miller are happy to see it over. We've got a throw in 40 around from the Tigers' goal.
It was a good attack from Bauer in the air. Just didn't quite get enough of his hands onto it, but read it fairly well and come across and could take an impressive mark. Umpire
spins the ball back into play. Nankervis goes to ground. Marshall takes it out of the ruck and gives it back to Nankervis. He's stripped to the footy. Prestia collects, dribbles it forward, and it's marked by McLennan on the last line of defence. For the Saints, kicks across the face of goal and finds Cal Wilkie in the right back pocket, and he delivers beautifully for Burns at half back.
Loops the hand pass over the top to the run of Wanganeen Miller, who just dummies to, cruises through half back and kicks it in the middle beautifully. He finds Clark and he turns it over. Picked out the biggest man on the park, Toby Nankervis. Hand pass to Prestia. His hand pass to Rioli. Sold him into trouble. Rioli good enough to get the handball away. Now the short pass comes to Ryan. He dropped the footy. Ralph Smith grubbers a ball forward. It bounces and bounces into the forward pocket. Battle there to see it over. Tries to disguise keeping it in, but he was happy enough as the boundary line was his friend on that occasion. Ball to be tossed in next to the right behind post. Richmond trail by 2 goals, but they are pressing. It's been a good couple of minutes for them.
2 goals apiece in this third quarter. Umpire spins the ball back into play. Nankervis and Marshall again in ruck. Marshall down to Steele, who just jams it on the boot to Nathan Broad, who's marked inside the centre circles. That kick was pinpoint to Nathan Broad. And he chips it forward and finds Trezise just forward of halfway. Can send it into a crowded forward 50. Where are the flyers for the Tigers? Ralph Smith hands to it, no mark. Gets up the back and battle. Right up against the goal line. Keeps it alive to Hunter. Put him under pressure. Hand passes to McLennan. Now gives it to Sinclair from the back pocket. Chips it forward and finds Jack Steele at half-back for the Saints. And their fans can breathe a sigh of relief.
Just got out of that one. And the pass to Burns, who kicks a low dart. Beautiful spearing ball. Find the chest of Marshall, off to the run of Steele. Hurried kick, high inside 50. Coming back with a flight, no mark to Owens. But it's round level, Hill excellent. Now to Owens. Oh, he's got people all free in the goal square. They could have raffled it between 3 of them. And it's Wilson who dribbles it along the goal from the top, along the ground from the top of the square. Hits the umpire, and the Saints go from coast to coast. So the score, St Kilda edge clear again, 10-5-65. Tigers 7-5-47. 3 straight kicks the margin. 21 gone rather, third term.
And 3 options inside 50 there to kick it to, because all of the Richmond players were watching the ball come along the wing, and none of them actually thought to look behind them and say, well, you know, I can't be involved in that play. What's happening behind me? Who do I need to pick up inside 50? Because seriously, there was 3 of them standing there waiting. And Darcy Wilson has come from the far wing to actually get the top of the goal square. I don't know how you get that far without actually being spotted.
Adelaide 7-5-47, leading the Bulldogs 3-8-26, 8 minutes left, second term at the Adelaide Oval.
Looks like the Saints have activated their sub, McLennan out, and Webster sitting in the front row of the benches from the restart. Steele stripped to the footy. That's a throw. Free kick to Dion Prestia for the Tigers in the middle of Docklands.
I'm not sure whether McLennan's injured or not, but I think he's sort of made a couple of blues in this game that Ross Lyon's seen enough.
Prestia bombs it forward, looking for Samson Ryan. No mark. Spills the way of St Kilda. Battle to Wilkie from the back pocket. Skies it to the wing. Owens in front position. Broad with the fist. Down to Hopper. Hand pass didn't hit the target. It's a turnover. Clark for the Saints. Kicks inboard and Rioli tackled Higgins, and then he gets the footy. Wheels around on the right. Skies it inside forward 50 to a pack. No mark. Wilkie out the back for the Saints. Wins the footy. Kicks out wide to Wanganeen Miller. I couldn't complete the mark, but Wilson is there.
His kick's good, and they are out on the outer side. St Kilda Marshall with the footy. He goes along the boundary line, finds Hill, who takes off on a Sunday stroll in his full measure, then kicks inside 50 into the forward pocket, rising high. Great mark, Sharman. Good hang time. He took a strong mark right forward pocket.
Again, they were outnumbered inside their forward 50. The Richmond players just not working hard enough to get back in and clog some holes. If Sharman didn't mark that, there was another couple of options.
So he's going to try and bend this around. Couple already for Cooper Sharman this afternoon. Hasn't had a lot of the footy, but he's been very effective. On his left, brings it around, hits the fat side of the footy and missed the lot across the face. Not even a score. 10-5-65 St Kilda, 7-5-47 the Tigers.
Bolter with the free kick for Richmond. St Kilda by 18. Bolter winds up and kicks along to a pack on the wing. Battled great mark over at Ryan. Send the Saints back inside forward 50. Looking to Hill at half forward, but well done at making a contest was Trezise. Ball to be won at half forward for the Saints. Butler hand passes to space, picked up by Nankervis, who gives it to Dow. His hand pass straight to Hill. Could have taken possession, elected to go with a fist. It spills away. Ralph Smith trying to break the Stocker tackle. Got the hand pass out, but it's a turnover. Steele sends him to half forward. It's marked by Higgins, 55 out from goal. Has a player all alone in the goal square as the Tigers get back. No mark. Is it a free kick? It is. For a push. And I think it's going to be Cooper Sharman, the recipient, the top of the square.
Yeah, I think they've paid
Or
one.
Caminiti, I think it is.
There was 3 Richmond players converging on him, and one just happened to get him from the front on position, and that's what the umpire has paid. But again, St Kilda player just standing all by themselves at the back. Brad Hill, if you had the time again, those congested type situations, try and grab the ball, don't punch it.
Anthony Caminiti, the 20-year-old, has kicked 14 goals in season 2024 from his 13 games. This should be a regulation kick at the top of the goal square. He comes in, 15 metres out, drills it home, and the Saints have their 11th. They're out to a 4-goal lead, 24 points the difference, 11-5. 71 plays Richmond, 7-5-47. 26 gone, third term on ABC Sport. Jess Webster and Andrew May is calling the action, and your expert is Nathan Burke.
Interesting with Adam Muse's game style, they are trying to run and link up with handball. They're just not doing it really well at this stage, and it sort of reminds me a little bit of when Sam Mitchell took over at Hawthorn. So let's get numbers across that half-back line, and let's just link up and run it in numbers and get the ball forward that way. I think that's one of the reasons why Saints have so many marks, is because they're folding back to that half-back line. The problem is when the ball goes over that half-back line, there's nobody back there actually defending for the Tigers. But whether this is just a game plan in motion that we're seeing here at the moment, hopefully it is for the Tigers' sake.
St Kilda by 4 goals from the middle. Nankervis soccers it away from the centre circles. Gets the centre half forward. Stocker took a little while to pick it up. It's okay though as he feeds it back to the sub. Webster, who's on. The centre half back. Off to Wood, who fires an awkward hand pass. Sold Wanganeen Miller into all sorts of trouble. Missed him by a few metres. Now it's a chance for Bolton. Ball pitches in front of him. It was the right kick. Not great execution though. Danced away from Mansell, who then has to try and apply a bit of forward pressure. Nice fend by Wood. Did all the hard work and then squeezed up against the boundary line. Good pressure from Bolton. Out of bounds on the full. Prestia or Banks with the free? It'll be Banks. We'll take it 70 around from the Richmond goal.
Possession number 22 for Banks coming up. Had a ripping start. Slowed down a little bit, but he's in the 20s now and still quarter to go. That's a good sign for him.
So he crosses the boundary line, then kicks inside, attacking 50 to the hot spot. No mark taken, off hands. Battle wanted the boundary line and then thought, well, I've got so much time here, I can just handball it to Cal Wilkie. He fires outside of defensive 50. Good fist from Bolter, sees it out. Now about 2 kicks from the Richmond goal. 7-5-47 the Tigers, 11-5-71 the Saints. 28 played third term in Adelaide. The Crows, 9-5-59, leading the Dogs, 3-9-27. So opening up a nice little lead there with 4 to go in the second term.
Saints by 24 here from the ball in. Nankervis to Hopper. Back to Nankervis. Back to Hopper. He kicks it to half forward. He's turned it over. Mason Wood takes the grab at half back for the Saints. Kicks out wide to Wanganeen Miller. Left half back for St Kilda. Led by 6 at quarter time, by 14 at half time, and they have a handy lead here in the third. Wanganeen Miller short to Dow, and then kicks out wide to Battle, who's marked still at left half back, about 5 metres in from the boundary. Now Battle will wind up and kick it long down the line to a pack at half forward. Membry in front position. That's a great grab from Nankervis. Stood tall in the pack. Takes the intercepting mark for Richmond at right half back. Saints by 24.
Nankervis on that left foot. High kick to the wing. Ryan was more worried about his opponent to start off with and then couldn't jump for the mark. We'll have a ball in as it's punched away from him. Just forward of centre wing. Nankervis will wander down to take this ruck contest. Signs being held up on the interchange benches as the players can hear from them below us here. Another chance for Adelaide goal. Deep into the second term at the Adelaide Oval. Again, it's Rioli coming through the stoppage. Hand pass was good. Out to Prestia, then Tresize, and he goes out wider still to Mansell, who can turn and go inside attacking 50. It's Campbell actually. Lowers the eyes. Oh, it was the right kick. Just wrong execution again over the head of Rioli, who drifted forward. Taken by Stock, who flares it out wide to Rowan Marshall. He has it at left half back for the Saints.
And the Saints have got 101 marks, so well done.
Marshall to Webster, the sub, kicks down the line, looking for Caminiti, gets up the back to Owens, hand pass over the top to Caminiti under pressure, and they've turned it over. Tresize pokes the kick forward, finds Prestia, who's marked defensive side of the broadcast wing. There's time left if they're quick enough. Prestia bangs it long to half forward. Bolton's gotten out the back. Can he gather? Battle's right there with him in a one-on-one contest, and the boundary line beats them both. We'll have a throw-in 40 around from the Tigers' goal.
Well done by Battle. He's a faster man that he was on, but managed to just harass him enough to get the ball over the line without giving away a free kick.
Saints by 24. Kick 4 goals to 2 in this third quarter. Umpire spins the ball back into play. Inside 50 for the Tigers. Prestia down to Rioli. Jams it on the boots. Rated out of bounds. On the full as the three-quarter time siren sounds here at Docklands. St Kilda in control at the last change. They lead by 24 points. 11-5-71 plays Richmond. 7-5-47. Your goal kickers for the Saints. Tim Membry has 3. Rowan Marshall and Cooper Sharman have 2 each, and singles to Mitch Owens, Darcy Wilson, Anthony Caminiti and Paddy Dow, the late inclusion. And for Richmond, 2 each to Hugo Ralph Smith, Shea Bolton and Jacob Bauer, and single to Jacob Kaczynski.
At the MCG earlier today, it was Hawthorn by 74 points over Carlton, firing themselves inside the top 8, almost half-time at the Adelaide Oval. The Crows by 33 points with 2 minutes to go against the Western Bulldogs until half-time. And here under the roof, as Jess mentioned, a 4-goal lead at the final break for St Kilda. So the score, 11-5-71, leading Richmond 7-5-47. We'll get the thoughts on that third term from Nathan Burke. This is Sunday Footy on ABC Sport.
Time for the family road trip.
98.
The big prawn.
Yes. 99. The big mosquito. It's a real one. And 100.
Easy.
The big Listen app.
Of course.
The ABC Listen app has a big array of road trip ready podcasts, radio, audiobooks, music and sport. Something for everyone.
I guess it has to be big to fit in all those podcasts.
For a big selection of audio entertainment,
Really, Dad?
listen big. Download the free ABC Listen app today.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Jack Steele, who marks at 51, doesn't have the journey, so he goes short himself. Sinclair just waited for it, swallowed away from him. Now it's a rebound opportunity for the Tigers. They're out here. Prestia, long kick to Dow. He's got Bolton inside attacking 50, gets to 50 himself, passes to Bolton. That's good footy. Bolton let at him finally. He was running back towards goal, and then the easy hit up came, and Bolton can go back and try and kick his second of the afternoon. Tight-ish angle, 45 degree, distance not a problem, and he makes no mistake. He has his second of the afternoon. Swastone with a dicey kick, a 2-on-1. Wood made the contest, down to Membry, who snaps the easiest of goals.
Mansell marks at left half forward, 55 from home, wheels around and pumps it to a dangerous position. Ralph Smith takes the mark at the top of the goal square for his second goal, and he pops it through.
Hurry kick high inside 50. Back with a flight, no mark to Owens. Ground level, Hill excellent. Now to Owens. Oh, he's got people all free in the goal square. They could have raffled it between three of them. And it's Wilson who dribbles it along the ground from the top of the square, hits the umpire, and the Saints go from coast to coast.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
St Kilda 11-5-71 leading Richmond 7-5-47. Three-quarter time here under the roof at the Docklands. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster calling the action for you for his thoughts on that third term, which probably didn't reach any great heights. Nathan Burke.
No, it wasn't one that we'll write home about. Stats-wise, there's really nothing in the major stats. Clearances 21-24 in favour of the Tigers. Contested possessions 89-88 in favour of the Saints. Inside 50s, the Tigers are leading by 2, 37-35. So they're getting the ball inside 50 okay. Uncontested possessions, the Saints are about 30 ahead of that because the marks are 101-73. And that's probably the only statistical difference apart from the scoreboard at the moment. And that's just purely come down to the quality of the inside 50 work that the Saints have been able to manage. And I think a lot of that has to do with the inability of the Tigers to adjust quickly enough. So when they come steaming forward, if they turn the ball over through the middle of the ground, they're just too slow to think, okay, now I need to get back. Who do I need to pick up? What sort of hole do I need to fill? And the Saints are getting the goals quite easy, just coming from uncontested marks. Vlosten just had a horrific turnover, and Membry capitalised on that one. But it's just that ability to be a little bit cleaner inside 50. I think the Saints defenders are doing a better job than the Richmond defenders. Through the middle of the ground, I think it's really even. So if there's a group who's probably having the biggest difference in this game, it's the St Kilda defenders are defending far better than what the Richmond defenders are, and which means the Saints forwards, I wouldn't say they're shooting the lights out, but they're getting easier shots at goal through the ineptitude of the Richmond defending once they turn the ball over.
A couple of the major ball winners on the ground. Dan Rioli has 29 disposals, 86% kicking efficiency and 482 metres gained. So he's been excellent this afternoon. Hopper has kept trying with 24, and Banks having one of his better games for the Tigers with 22. Meanwhile for the Saints, 23 to Battle, 21 to Sinclair, and 20 to Wood and Wanganeen Miller, who's using the ball pretty well at 80%, as he usually does. So both huddles, or one huddle splitting, that is the Tigers, with final instructions from Adam Uze. And Ross Lyon just holding the Saints in a little longer at this three-quarter time break. Just gone half-time over in Adelaide, who lead at half-time by 26 points. So 60 plays 34. They have laid down the challenge. What have the Bulldogs got in the second half? Don't forget, after this game, if you want coverage of that, just head to the ABC Listen app and click on the AFL Extra button, and you'll be able to get all the coverage from the Adelaide Oval. That is going to be a fascinating second half. So subs this afternoon. McLennan has been subbed for the Saints. Jimmy Webster is on. And I don't think, has Caleb Smith got the vest off?
They have made that change at three-quarter time. Looks like Samson Ryan is sitting in the back row of the bench.
And having a big chat to Adam Uze as well. So you'd fancy that might be the change, as Caleb Smith will see a little bit of game time. You're spot on there, Jess. Despite us having no one downstairs this afternoon, he needs a boundary rider when we've got Hawkeye up here in the box. So the final term here, bit of work for Richmond to do. 4 goals in arrears. Can they win the first clearance? They can. Through Taranto, hand pass to Prestia. Oh, Prestia kicks well, but out on a long lead and almost a huge collision. Sinclair had to stand strong. Bauer coming at 100 miles an hour would have collected him.
Train.
Yeah.
Good use for the Tigers. 4 goals is absolutely nothing. 4 goals is the old 2 goals. You can easily come back from this far down if they want to win this game and give their supporters something to cheer about.
Kicks to Hill, to Wanganeen Miller, and now the pass further forward, just forward of centre wing, lands with Sharman. Sharman, the aggressive kick, it's a good one, inside the centre square. Now to Webster, who opens things up on the far side. Wilkie's drifted forward, takes the mark 50 from goal, and selfishly goes into the pocket, and a good lead there by Marshall. He's always going to outmark Seth Gamble, who's about a foot smaller than him, so well spotted by Wilkie.
I think I struggle to understand in modern day football. The ball's been switched to Jimmy Webster in the middle of the ground. He's 60 metres out, right smack bang in the middle of the ground, and the next kick goes to a player outside 50, 20 metres in from the boundary line. Yep, they're getting a shot for goal, but they should be having a shot for goal from the corridor, not 5 metres in from the boundary.
So Marshall kicks from 49. He's got all of it. It's across the face and smashed through by Toby Nankervis for a rush behind. First score of the final term is a minor, and it is the Saints by 25 points over the Tigers.
I can't repeat what Plugger would have said to you if you had the ball in the middle of the ground and you kicked the ball to somebody outside 50 and he was in the corridor. We need a bit of a dump button stew back there to...
Wouldn't that be great to know? He's short from the kick in. Kicks straight down the corridor to Broad, who kicks backwards to the back pocket and finds Miller. Runs the perimeter of the boundary, sends a long kick to the outer side. Kajitsky had to turn spoiler. It spills down to Membry. He wheels around on the right, pumps the Saints back inside forward 50. Sharman, the target. Broad used the body well. And ball spills to ground. Hill collects, spun in a tackle. Umpire says that's holding the ball. Free kick to the Tigers in their back 50 to Dan Rioli, who's coming up for disposal number 30, including 9 marks and nearly 500 metres gained. He's had a wonderful day today for the Tigers.
He's kept on running all afternoon. Now the ball's with Bolter, left half back. Kicks off the outside of the boot. Didn't get to Graham. Getting a hand in there with Sinclair, and he receives the hand pass too from Wilkie. Then he works the 1-2 with Clark. Sinclair to the top of the square. Saints trying to get numbers there. Butler left it for a teammate in the end. Owen snaps towards goal. It lacked penetration. Flostone thought it was play on. Is that holding the ball? No. A ball up. I think he thought it was a mark or a behind, so he sort of just waltzed towards the goal line, and then St Kilda mobbed him. It'll be a ball up inside the goal square.
Funny how the person who marks it is the only one or the last one ever to hear the play on.
Nankervis palms it down. Marshall ripped off the footy. Umpire saw it. It's a free kick. And that is a costly one. Rowan Marshall inside the goal square can line up from point-blank range.
Yeah, just having a look at it now. It was just after the ruck contest. The ball was bumbling around on the ground, and big fella was just slung to the ground by one arm. So handy start for the Saints, just to put them 5 up, and just make it a little bit safer, because as we said, 4 goals can be overcome pretty quickly. So getting the first is important.
Marshall for goal number 3 to extend the margin beyond 5 goals. He's got it. This lead is now ballooned out to 31 points to start this final term. St Kilda 12-6-78, Richmond 7-5-47, 4 gone. Final term on ABC Sport. Jess Webster and Andrew Mays calling the action for you, and our expert is Nathan Burke.
Yeah, Rowan Marshall is a threat when he goes forward as well. That's 3 goals for the big fella today. Yeah, he's turned himself into a goal-kicking forward. He actually came on the scene as quite a good forward, and I think if the Saints had another option in the ruck, today he's pretty much played a lone hand. Caminiti has come in at certain stages, but if they can pick up a second ruck who can just sort of pinch hit a little bit more effectively than what Caminiti and Owens can, well, then you'd have the big fella spend a fair bit of time forward, because as we know, he leads well, and he's turned himself into a pretty reliable set shot.
And it's going to be recalled in the middle here. Marshall doesn't need that in the last quarter. It favoured him, but he had a steam train coming through in Toby Nankervis, so I'm sure almost got more of the body than the ball.
Probably a little bit angry, just gave away a free kick and thought, I'll get him back.
And then Curvis runs straight at him again, won the head out, and then he was a bit overzealous in his tackle. Gets Paddy Dow high, who gets to his feet. He wants to go quickly, kicks inside 50. The leapers fly, one grab for Membry, not the second on the way down. Numbers in and around the footy, and it's held to Membry. Will have a ball up, 30 out directly in front.
Well done, Paddy Dow. He resisted the temptation to go from the centre square out to the wing just to maintain possession. Now they've got a ball up, 25 out from goal. Dangerous spot.
Saints by 31. And Dow squeezes a kick forward for the Tigers to Broad. Nice hand pass to Rioli, who runs away from Hill. Kick out wide, just had a little bit too much on it. And Smith, the sub, he had a fumble. It ricocheted off his leg. The umpire says toss it back in at right half forward for Richmond. St Kilda by 31. 6 minutes into this final term on ABC Sport.
Just had fresh legs, the young fella. He got to the ball far quicker than everybody else. And he thought, oh, how do I get this much space?
Didn't quite sit for him. Poor old Caleb Smith. Toss back into play. Nankervis on it down. Dow, Thompson Dow that is. His hand pass was a little blind into traffic. Hill emerges with it. Good kick, and he finds Membry. Right half forward. He can pull the trigger inside 50. Owens is leading towards him and takes a nice mark. Strong stuff in front of Miller.
Again, good lead by Owens. Come from the other side of the ground, darted back to the goal square, came back at the kicker, gets himself a mark. The other doubt for the Tigers, if you're under pressure on the edge of your half-forward line, don't just willy-nilly handball the ball into the corridor, because this is what happens. It goes up the other end of the ground. You're better off throwing it on your boot and scrumbling it inside 50 than just getting, a panic handball. Got myself an extra stat because the other team come through the corridor and Owens gets a shot.
You're far from 51. It's a long kick all the way to the line, punched through for a rushed behind. So St Kilda doing all the attacking opening stages of this final term. We've played 7 minutes, 12-7 plays 7-5. Margin sitting at 32 points.
It just annoys me a little bit when players from outside 50, the man on the mark's at 50, you go back and you have a shot, and it's a very, very slim chance you're going to get it through kick at 55 if you can't kick that far. So look for a pass.
Richmond from the kick-in, work it to half-back. Bolter receives a hand pass, and then his hand pass looking for Banks was an awful one. Goes out of play, and we'll have a throw-in at half-forward for St Kilda.
He almost missed his hand there.
He did.
Tackles 22-28 in favour of the Saints. I think the Tigers had 11 at quarter time. So they've had 11 more tackles in a half of football.
Probably sums up the intensity of this one in the Sunday afternoon slot.
Ball back into play. Marshall palms it down to Steele, who's set up on immediately. We've got a ball up at left half forward. A little bit of push and shove as well.
That's the most physical they've been all day.
Yeah, I think you're right, Berkey. Saints by 32 on their way to their 9th win of season 2024. From the ball up. Spills to Burns of St Kilda, to Butler, who gives it to Hill from half forward, wheels around on the right and sends it to full forward. Oh, big fly from Sharman. Hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. Bolter picks it up. His hand pass couldn't find a target. Butler swoops, right foot snap towards goal. Doesn't quite have the journey, was touched on the way through for a rush behind. St Kilda by 33, 12-8. 80 Richmond, 7-5-47, 9 minutes travelled. 4th term on ABC Sport.
Hasn't had a big day, Dan Butler, just the 3 kicks and 5 handballs. Yet to get himself on the scoreboard.
Rioli receives the kick out from Miller. He goes wide by foot to short. Always working Rioli to be the next option. He was ignored on that occasion. To Broad and now to Bolter at true centre half back. Who can kick out wide. Left it in front of Banks. Ball sits okay for him, and then he hits the accelerator. Thought he could get past Marshall, couldn't quite. Pulled the kick, wasn't bad either. Tried to hit Kajitsi, didn't find him in the end. Is it a free? It's Nankervis rather, and he'll receive the free kick at right half forward. 55 from goal for Big Nank.
Just free kick number 8 for the Tigers, hence the cheers from the crowd.
St Kilda by 33. Long kick to the top of the square. Battle. Oh, well done by Bauer to bring it to ground. Bring some of the Rovers into it. getting the hand pass away to Graham. Graham has a shot for goal, and it's across the face for one behind. First score for the Tigers in this final term. 7-6-48. Plays 12-8-80. We've played 13 minutes. 10 minutes, rather, in this final term.
There's some terrible defending by the Saints. The ball was bumping the ground, and 5 blokes went at the football and left Graham standing on the outside all by himself. Should have done better than that.
St Kilda work it to Webster at half-back. Flares a kick out wide. It's a good one. Finds Membry in space on the wing. Gets around Nankervis. Then bombs it inside forward 50. I don't know who he was thinking he was kicking that to. There was not a St Kilda player in sight, and Ben Miller takes the easiest defensive mark. Chip short to Vlostone, who chips it, looking for Taranto, a dangerous one, knocked away from him. Well done by Graham at ground level. He won the footy, gave it to Taranto, looping hand pass over the top to Prestia, gives it back to Taranto. From halfway, pokes the kick to half forward. It's marked by Campbell, unopposed, runs to 50, shoots towards goal and has missed it to the right. Chance on begging for the Tigers. Margin 31 points. St Kilda 12-8-80, Richmond 7-7-49, 11 travelled. Final term on ABC Sport.
I'd like Tim Taranto to look up the ground a little bit more. He's running through the middle of the ground, and his intention was to give a handball to play with his back to goal so he'd get a handball back, get the old 1-2. If he had to kick the ball inside 50, he had some spare players.
Kick around the boundary is okay to Burns, who goes to Sinclair by foot. Now to left half back, where Webster has it. Started as the sub this afternoon. Jimmy Webster. Now he's just holding things up. Metre inside the boundary. The left footer goes as long as he can. A couple of players seem to be holding each other, but Bolton has had enough. He took the chest mark and fired it 60 metres up the park, inside 50. St Kilda with the numbers though. Webster receives it from Wilkie, switches play to right half back, and mark taken by Battle, and off to Wilson, who has it on his chest. Takes a bounce. He's outside defensive 50 and goes back inside defensive 50. Switches on again for Howard, who has it at full back. Goes a little more centrally this time to Steele, who was looking for the aggressive hand pass. Went the kick instead to Sinclair, who has it inside the centre square.
Saints by 31. Sinclair kicks out wide for Jones. His kick looking for Hill. It wasn't a great one, and he's turned it over. Short marks for Richmond. Hand passes to Bolton, all alone on the wing. Has a casual bounce, then delays the hand pass and gives it to Graham. Sweeping hand pass into the middle of Docklands to Prestia, who gives it to Bolton, just forward of halfway. Bangs it a full forward. It's a 1-on-3. Howard with the fist brings it down. Bauer roves from the pocket. The right foot snap towards goals, missed near side. 4 behind, the third behind in a row to Richmond. Margin 30 points. St Kilda 12-8-80, Richmond 7-8-50. 13 played final term on ABC Sport.
How'd you describe the footy in the last 5 minutes, Berkey? We're not in delay. We don't have a dump button.
We better just move on then. I mean, even that kick then, you got an experienced Richmond player who kicks the ball.
And then Wilkie, the most experienced, the All-Australian from last year, kicks into the man on the mark, then dived on the footy. Umpire waves play on. Eventually he comes in and says he'll have it. We'll have a ball up right forward pocket for the Tigers.
Yeah, it was kicking it to Smith, who's surrounded by Battle, Wilkie and Dougal Howard. You kick a long ball 60 metres to him in the air. There's no way that man can be the greatest small forward ever. He's not going to mark that.
Tossed up. Kajitsky at ground level to Taranto. Now to Bolton. Got the hand pass away at the last moment to Banks. Tries to squeeze a kick along the line. It might have travelled too far. It did. It's out of bounds on the full. Big pack there. All crashing over the boundary line. And Clark walks away from it okay. He looked a little injured, but he's all right now. And Howard to take the free kick in the left back pocket. 7-8-50 the Tigers, 12-8-80 St Kilda. 14 played final term. Andrew Mason, Jess Webster calling it for you this afternoon, and Nathan Burke is your expert.
Howard to a pack, no marks. Spills down a bolter of the Tigers. Hand passes to Taranto to Prestia. His hand pass looking for Bolton, but it's broken up by the Saints. Hill to Webster from inside defensive 50. Kicks it long to a pack. Broad got upstairs. and spoiled it down, but only as far as Caminiti. Spun on a 360, got the hand pass out to Sharman, who then gives it to Butler, who's got some space on the wing. Pokes the kick to half forward. It's a good one looking for Higgins. Well done by Miller to spoil it. Higgins goes in again. His hand pass couldn't find a target. Short dives on top of it and gives it to Prestia in a 1-2 with Kajitsky, and then gives it to Graham. His hand pass to Trezise inside the centre square. Has a bounce. He's running backwards. Hand passes it to Hopper at half-back. He hand passes it backwards to Broad. Finally, they kick it out wide. The kick doesn't make the intended target, and Miller has time to gather the footy and then chip it short to Short, who's marked at right half-back, Saints by 30.
I'd hate to be a forward playing for Richmond at the moment. When they do come running at you, they turn around and go back the other way.
5 goals the margin. It doesn't seem like the Tigers will be challenging, though. Why are they moving the footy? Side 50, drifting past Caminiti. Thought he was following Bolton, and he has been pinned.
To letter of the law, you're supposed to be within a couple of metres, and he wasn't. It was a good 5-6 metres behind the Richmond player.
Well, he's played on and kicked inside 50. Presti is 40 metres on his own inside 50. Runs in and misses. From 30 out, slight angle to the right. He was in so much space, everyone had absolutely gone to sleep. I reckon the crowd's going to sleep too. 7-9 plays 12-8. 16 played final term. It's a 29-point lead now for the Saints.
And then
Battles kick in. As he kicked it out of bounds on the full, was it touched all the way through?
Miller thought he was a defender, and he is a defender, but when you get an uncontested mark, you can take it and you don't have to bang it 10 rows into the crowd. Just catch that one, son, and kick it back inside your forward line.
Ball in a half forward for Richmond. Kajitsky throws it on the boot and has kicked it out of bounds on the full. It's a free kick to St Kilda at half-back. This game hasn't exactly reached great heights here at Docklands. St Kilda by 29 points, 17 played final term on ABC Sport. We have seen 1 goal in this final quarter. It came at the 4-minute mark to Rowan Marshall. We've then had 6 behinds to both sides since then. Maisie, over to you.
Kazitsky started off, he kicked the first goal of the game. Rarely sighted since.
Short pass is okay. Geez, it put poor old Howard under lots of pressure. He takes a strong mark, but wore one for his troubles. Gets up a little gingerly. 29 points of margin in favour of the Saints. I reckon if both teams could shake hands and go down and have a shower, they probably would at this stage. Long kick out of there is a nice mark in the end. And it's Sharman working his way up to the wing here. Sharman goes short to Hill.
21,375 here today. To their credit, I think most of them are here still.
Hill into the forward pocket and just shoved underneath that one. Right at the last moment was Owens, and he received the free kick. He's in the left forward pocket, pokes it in, uncontested. There's 4 or 5 Tigers about 15 metres away from their former teammate Dan Butler, and he takes the easiest of uncontested marks. About 40 around from the St Kilda goal, left forward pocket rather.
17,000 at the G last night, so 21,000 here today isn't actually that bad.
3,500 in Tasmania yesterday. Slightly more than that. It wasn't a bad crowd. West Coast were well represented and saw a good win.
Butler hooks it around. What about this for a bit of class to finish the afternoon? He gives an old pat on the backside to Dion Prestia. That's a nice finish. For all the poor footy we've seen in this last quarter, that was a touch of class. 13-8-86 the Saints. Richmond 7-9-51. 84,000 today at the MCG.
We said at quarter time that the Saints were on track for 120 marks because they had 30 in that first quarter. They've just hit 130. So what we thought the Tigers would look at that and go, we know the way that they want to play. They're going to maintain the ball by foot. We can't let that continue. In fact, it's actually got worse. It's actually got easier for the Saints to maintain the ball by foot. So I'm a little bit concerned about Richmond saying, okay, we want to take away what the other team want. They've just been unable to do that.
And Curvis from the restart palms it down to Bolton. He won himself a free kick. No, in fact, it's going St Kilda's way. So Zach Jones to come up with the footy. adjacent to the centre circle. Saints by 35 points. They kick the only 2 goals of this final term. Jones, hand pass releases Webster, bangs it along to a dangerous position inside forward 50, and that's a lovely mark taken by Nane Curvis for the Tigers. Inside defensive 50. Tigers losses here at Docklands will continue. It'll be their 10th loss in a row at this venue. Nane Curvis flares the kick out wide, off hands. Hunter gathers for the Saints, pokes the kick into the pocket, and Caminiti marks 45 from home, hugged up against the boundary.
He's pretending he's going to pass it to his teammates, but on tipping now, he's going, no, you're covered. I'm going to go back and have a shot. Well disguised, big fella.
He's just pointed at the goal, so he's going to have a crack. Anthony Caminiti kicked a goal in the 3rd quarter.
There's Damien Hardwick came away from this ground yesterday with a smile on his face. Imagine how grumpy he'd been off in the box if he's still coaching Richmond.
Caminiti, 50 metres out, hugged up against the boundary. The kick is on its way and it's missing near side for a minor score. Saints by 36, 13-9-87 plays Richmond, 7-9-51, 21 minutes gone, final term on ABC Sport. And Richmond, for the record, haven't won here at Docklands since round 9, 2021. 8 losses and a draw since then. It'll be 9 losses and a draw at the conclusion of this match.
Bontempelli kicks a goal for the Bulldogs and gets them back within 20 points, 9-7, 61 to 5-11 to 41. That's 17 minutes to go in that 3rd quarter.
Rioli goes the barrel. It might work as they've got numbers at the fall of the ball here, the Tigers. Hand pass comes inboard. Back to Rioli. Just got away from the Caminiti tackle. Now to the run of Tresize, who shows a bit of toe, gets it to Taranto, back inboard and back to Tresize, who kept on running, kicks inside 50. It was tough for Banks there, or rather Mansell in a one-on-one. Hand pass though for Wilson, did him no favours, did well to get the hand pass away in the end to Wanganeen Miller, out wider still to Howard. Long hand pass is okay as well to Burns, he's called to play on. Battle, kick over the top, is a mark to Sinclair, who keeps it moving, round the outer side to left half back to Webster. Webster pokes the pass and it's taken by Clark, who can now cut back inside if he wants.
Saints by 36. Final 5 minutes of this game here at Docklands as Clark chips short to Burns. From half forward, kicks it into the pocket. Marshall, the target in, takes the grab as Bolter got his leg up to try and hold him out of the way, but Marshall was good enough to take the mark in the end. 35 out from goal, 10 metres in from the boundary.
Again, that was uncontested marks from the back pocket all the way up to the forward pocket. Richmond have just had no inclination at all to run with their opponents or to stop that short one and force the ball long.
Marshall will snap around the corner from 40 metres out, and he has sent that almost to the roof. It's going to pitch at the top of the goal square. Caminiti hands to it, couldn't reel in the mark. And Miller for the Tigers in defence pokes the kick out wide and finds Caleb Smith. I think Ron Marshall might want that kick again.
Noah Bolter did a good job on the mark, actually, of really putting him under pressure.
Smith out wide, off hands, Webster for the Saints to Clark. Snaps on his left, good kick too to Wood, who marks 65 from goal. Can turn and go, he does, wheels around, puts it to the forward pocket. Richmond with a couple of numbers there. Oh, taken in a high tackle. Flostone wasn't too happy with his former teammate Jack Higgins, who he suggested might have just collapsed a little and made sure that that one rode up over his neck.
Yep, I'm with him. Higgins played for it. He's standing up high. He puts the ball under his left arm and swings the right arm up to make sure it goes over his neck. The umpire got fooled for it. And the sooner the umpires wake up to that, if you put the ball under one arm, then you can handball it.
Higgins comes in and kicks the goal, snaps off the left. And St Kilda extend the lead. It's a game-high 42 points now, pulling away in this final term. 14-9-93, the Saints. Richmond 7-9-51. We've played 24 minutes and Higgins adds his name to the list of goal kickers this afternoon.
It's an absolute pet hate of mine. Our umpires get stuck into that one. Small players do it all the time. They lower their body, dive forward, put the ball under one arm, lift the other shoulder up to make sure the tackle goes over the shoulder. There's got to be a wake up to that. The umpires, for me, that's prior opportunity. If you can put the ball under your arm and get the other arm free, well then that means you can hold the ball in one hand and you can handball the ball. You've chosen not to handball the ball. You've chosen to draw a free kick. I don't want to say I hope you get your head knocked off, because we don't want that, but hopefully you get your nose rearranged without concussion. Although there's nothing wrong with a crooked nose. It's quite attractive, I think.
Back in the middle we go. Nankervis palms it down, then chases after his own footy. Hand pass to Short to Vlostone from half back. Hand passes to Dow inside the centre square. Sweeping hand pass out wide for Dan Rioli. Running along the centre square, directs the pass to half forward, and Wilkie playing in front and takes the intercepting mark. For the Saints at left half back, who lead this contest by 42 points, have kicked 3 unanswered goals in this final quarter as Wilkie chips out wide to Sinclair, who then sends it inboard to Liam Stocker, still at left half back for the Saints.
8 minutes gone in the third term in Adelaide, and the Crows 26 points to the good over the Western Bulldogs. So fascinating 45 minutes coming up there in Adelaide that, again, could shape the 8. We've said that a lot this round. Steele with the kick inside 50. It's a blind kick. Oh, straight through the hands of Ralph Smith. Dropped an absolute sitter, then lost his footing. Now it's off to Paddy Dow. Gave it to Wood, off to Butler, shrugs the tackle, found a bit of space. What about the banana? He's provided a couple of pieces of class, Dan Butler, in this final term. He's second of this last quarter, and St Kilda heading towards the century. 15-9-99, leading Richmond 7-9-51. The margin now out to 48 points, 26 played in this fourth quarter.
Well, the Saints have had 126 handball receives and 144 marks. And it just goes to show that they're not running and gunning in numbers and moving the ball from one end of the ground in a wave of handballs. They're using their feet to get it from one end to the other. And for the life of me, I cannot understand how Richmond have not adjusted. They're trying to stop the handball run, but that's not the way the Saints are moving the ball. So, okay, Adamuze, you might be teaching your team a style of how you're going to play the game, but playing the game involves being defensive as well.
St Kilda by 48 points. Back in the middle we go. Prestia fighting for it for the Tigers, going nowhere. We'll have another ball up. And we spoke earlier today about wanting to see something from the young kids and their coach killers. The drop mark from Ralph Smith and the broken tackle by Mansell is the Saints win it forward. Kick up towards Sharman at half forward. Gets around on the left, pokes it inside forward 50, and it's ill-directed. Broad taking the intercepting grab for the Tigers. A minute left in this one here at Docklands at St Kilda by 48.
Short pass is intercepted by Sharman, who kicks to the top of the square. It's over the head of Owens. Well done by Short to nudge him under the footy. Then got the hand pass away to Josias off that left boot. It's a good kick too, and reaching out into his fingertips and grasping the footy is McIntosh, and then he played on and ran out of bounds before he kicked it. Oh, goodness me.
I was hoping the Richmond people would give him a bit of a cheer. I think he's already signalled that he's going to retire at the end of the season. I hope he has, otherwise I'll just retire him. But I think he has. You know, it'd be nice to give him a bit of a cheer, but not when you run out of bounds when you've just taken a mark.
Marshall takes it out of the ruck and kicks St Kilda inside forward 50, knocked away from Sharman, and then the Tigers' defence through Vlostone and to Trezise can mop it up. There's a whistle on play. Trezise was knocked down after he kicked it, so it's going to be a downfield free or a free kick off the ball.
Yeah, Stocker knocked over Ralph Smith when they were leading for the footy.
So Ralph Smith to take the free kick inside the centre square. Hand pass releases Dan Rioli, who bursts away from the centre circles. Kicks the Tigers into attack. Bauer ran underneath it, but it follows up at ground level. He's over the footy. It spits out to Stocker, who gives it to Jones. And that is the final siren. St Kilda win their 9th game in season 2024. They take down Richmond by 48 points.
Good win for the Tigers, 15-9-99 defeating, for the Saints rather, 15-9-99 defeating the Tigers, 7-9-51. Goal kickers, 3 to Marshall and Membry, 2 to Butler and Sharman, Caminiti, Dow, Higgins, Owens, Wilson with 1 apiece for the Tigers. a few less. Bauer, Bolton and Ralph Smith with 2 apiece. Kajitsky with 1 as well. So a sad day, or a glum day for the Tigers in the wake of Dustin Martin's retirement during the week. And St Kilda bank 4 points heading towards what will be an important off-season for them. So the Saints with another win under Ross Lyon this afternoon. They've steadied in the back half of this season. And an important win today for them to kickstart or finish season 2024 on high. A couple of rounds to go, of course. We've got St Kilda over the next couple of weeks. They've got a challenge next week facing Geelong here at the Docklands. And then in the final round, the Saints take on the Blues, which may have something on the line there for Carlton, so that'll be a good test for them. Meanwhile, for the Tigers, they've got Hawthorn at the MCG next week, which will be a tough task, and then the Gold Coast at home at the MCG. So a couple at home to finish for Richmond in season 2024. 15-9-99 St Kilda, Richmond 7-9-51 as the siren goes here. Meanwhile, Adelaide 37 points up. We've got about half the third quarter to go, but they are looking the stronger team at the moment. And Isaac Rankin kicks his first for the afternoon, and they're almost pulling away from the Dogs in this third term. 37 points is the lead, and what an interesting loss that would be. Of course, percentage is so important this season as well. Berkey, we've got about 5.5 minutes before we will head off air. And, of course, if you do want to listen to that game over in Adelaide, you can hit the link on the ABC Listen app and all of your AFL coverage there, and head to abc.net.au for all your latest shows and podcasts as well. Berkey, I know you've got the votes today, so we might just have a chat about the game first and then we can get stuck into the votes, because I'm not sure the game needs an awful lot of time to dissect. What did you make of it this afternoon?
Yeah, it was 2 teams can't make the finals. I've got players who are saying, you know what, I want to impress the coach, I want to impress the fans, I want to impress my family, I want to get plenty of touches of the footy, and we'll play the game that way. And that's the way it just was. They did it in different ways. The Saints got lots of possessions by just getting out by themselves and taking a whole bunch of uncontested marks. Whereas the Tigers, they thought, I'll get a bunch of possessions by getting the old 1-2 handballs. So Taranto, 9 kicks, 16 handballs. Hopper, 8 kicks, 20 handballs. The only one sort of in the positive was Rioli had 20 and 16. Most of them, Prestia, 7 kicks, 13 handballs. Graham, 7 and 12. That shows me that I'm more interested. I've got the footy. I'm going to get a 1-2 here. And I get a 1-2-3 even, and I'll get my stats up that way. So both teams were getting their stats up in different ways. In the end, kicking the ball from one end of the ground and then the other is far more effective than trying to handball your way from one end of the ground to the other. And that meant the Saints got the ball more effectively, efficiently, faster inside 50 and more opportunities, and they won the game. It was really just 2 teams who are thinking, you know what, I'm just going to have fun at the end of the season.
Yep.
And it wasn't fun for the fans. We have to watch that crap. But it might be fun for the players because they get a lot of possessions.
Yep. It was a pretty bleak afternoon. I don't think anyone's rushing home to watch the replay of that one in too much of a hurry. Before we get to the votes, just a couple of questions. I know Tom from Benalla wanted to have a quick chat about Richmond and their list decisions. So, say for instance, Liam Baker, would you let him go if the offer's good enough from Freo or West Coast?
I would, because I think he's probably going to get you a late first rounder.
Yep.
Need that.
Yep. Rioli?
I think about hanging on to him a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. I think he's got some more currency. So you look at their midfield. Taranto, Hopper, Bolton, Baker if he stays, Prestia's there. All of them are on the back end of the bell curve.
Yep.
They're been at the top. I reckon they're probably going down the other side. You need to refresh the guys who are chasing them and chasing them out of the midfield. And the only way to do that is to get early draft picks.
And it's a good year for that as well, with a deep midfield draft as well. So
yeah, there's no standout number one, but there's a whole bunch of midfielders who are pretty good. So I think they need to chase. You will not play finals with a Taranto, Hopper, Prestia, Bolton midfield. You need to, same as the Saints. Both teams are getting midfielders to chase those blokes out the other end.
We'll wait and see what they do with a couple of their older players too. I don't think McIntosh has announced his...
Hasn't he?
No, I don't think so.
Retired him early, Berkey.
We might have finished him off early. But Presti is another one too, who they're going to have a serious think about
Graham.
going forward. Graham, what they do with him. Like, if the offer's good enough for a second rounder for Graham to go back to South Australia was mooted.
And here's the tricky thing about those players is that they've had success. They're triple premiership players. How much hunger to play out their career in teams that's going to finish last and down the bottom for the next 3 or 4 years? How much hunger do they have to do everything they possibly can to get this team, drive it back to the top again? If there's any inkling that they're not going to, well then, whoosh, out of the place. You're better off getting them out as fast as you possibly can and saying, you'll always be triple premiership players, we're going to love you forever, but right here, right now, if you cannot drive us forward strongly, well then you're better off somewhere else.
All right, Berkey, in about 30 seconds, you're 3, 2 and 1.
Yeah, I've given 3 to Rowan Marshall, 23 touches and 3 goals. He was outstanding. I've gone for Rioli, 36 touches at 80% for 2. And I'm going to give Josh Battle 1. I thought he was pretty good down back. He had 28 touches at 81% efficiency. Very
good early as well, Josh Battle. So 3 to Marshall, 2 to Rioli, and 1 to Battle in a pretty comfortable win for the Saints this afternoon. 15-9-99, defeating the Tigers 7-9-51. Jess Webster, thank you very much for your company this afternoon.
Pleasure.
Big thanks to Jessie back in the studio. Stu pushing the buttons, and Berkey, who answered the call at the very last moment this afternoon. Best on ground. Best on ground, Berkey. Well done. So a nice win for Saints fans. They can celebrate on their Sunday night. It's a big fortnight of footy coming up, though. What a set of games we've got to finish the season. It is close as it's ever been. If you want to catch the action in Adelaide, listen to the ABC Listen app. Meanwhile, you can catch all the news throughout the week before a big fortnight of footy.
AFL, NRL, football, rugby, tennis, basketball, and specialty programs. Catch up on the latest sports news and stories with ABC Sport on socials via Facebook, X, and Instagram. For the best experts, analysis, and live sport, listen to ABC Sport on your DAB Plus digital radio 24 hours a day, or on the ABC Listen app.